And we're live, Steve.
Hey, Tony. Good.
What's happening, brother?
No, not too much. It's December 5th already, which is like, I thought it was July 4th last time I looked, But
It flies, right?
yeah. But things are good. Sorry about last week or recently. I think there was not a stand-up, but I didn't know we had a firm date. But I do now, so here we are.
No problem, brother, man. No problem. So, what's new and exciting? You haven't been posting videos. You were posting them every day, and then now all of a sudden, what happened?
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, I've been involved with automotive television for, I don't know, 20 whatever years, but my problem is that the modern technologies and stuff, the smartphones, the uploading, the editing, all that stuff, I generally need a partner, a helper with that. And I've been through 3 already who are helpful, but the latest fella, good dude, but he got rehired by the union. He couldn't say no, he loses his seniority. So now, tomorrow, I've got a couple of folks I'm going to talk with, and I just kind of need somebody who can be here in my home, once or twice a week.
Right.
Go to the junkyard with me, whatever it is, to create a bunch of videos. So right now we're in reruns, as it were, but fear not, there will be lots more. The police car in the garage, the model car stuff, the junkyard stuff. But the only downside with junkyards is I'm in Massachusetts. So as soon as snow falls and we have a true covering that kind of stays here, it's a little harder to go into the junkyard and uncover that 68 Biscayne with the 396 or whatever,
But that's when you have to come south, and we'll do something. We have plenty of ground to cover here.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm just getting started.
The problem that you're running into those is, believe me, I can appreciate it. Kathy does all of that stuff. I would be lost if I had to do this. People don't understand how much work goes into maintaining and running and doing all of the odds and ends of a YouTube channel. I mean, some people are able to just, run shit off their phone, blah, 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 and send it. But those people are few and far between. To do a channel of any significance, of any type of potential growth, right? It takes a huge amount of work. There's so much. So I understand where you're coming from. I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah, it takes a team. And my thing is, I don't know what it is, but every time I touch something electronic, and this sounds goofy, but it crashes or doesn't function right, or who knows what. I mean, it happens a lot. So I think maybe what it is, it might be something as very simple as just hitting send or whatever it is, one time too many, and it causes the thing to stroke out. I don't know what, but when I find people, anybody under 25, rock and rolls with this stuff. So I don't know what it is. I don't mean to sound like the old fart, but it takes a team. And the shiny side of the lens, I can handle that. But the rest of it, I try to have somebody else do it because it's one task too many, honestly.
It's the truth. You're busy focusing on creating the content itself and the logistics of creating that content. And you've got most of the facts in your head, but you still have to research to make sure that, it was 1948 to 1953 and not 1947. And you know what I mean? So it's like, there's all those little facts and a little minutia that's in your head that has to be worked out for each video that you do. There's just no mental space to get into all of the actual production of, like the physical production of it, because you're busy working on the content.
Yeah. Another thing too is, basically you start the video 3-2. Hey, Steve here in front of the 62 Dodge. Check out the brake drum. See how it's got cast iron, whatever the heck it is. And if I'm there talking to the camera and then I turn the camera to the drum and zero it in, then I'm not sure that it's necessarily focused or centered. So it takes a team, someone to run the camera, and then they come back to me and, we continue the discussion or whatever it might be. And then from there, okay, cut, and then downloading. And what I try to do is every one of my videos, they're pretty low-fi. And here's the wonderful thing about YouTube. And I say, anybody out there who has a story to tell that's compelling, jump in. It seems like if you have a story to tell, do it. The problem for me was that for many, many years, I was brainwashed into thinking that I had to have a TV crew, a sound guy, and all this kind of stuff. And all that really matters, 80% of it is if you can see it and hear it. 20% is the drone or the second camera or the B-roll, the inserts, all that disco stuff, and it's not necessary. And the beauty of YouTube is that you can bypass all that. And beyond that, the decision makers who aren't qualified to make the decisions about what gets on TV and what doesn't are out of the picture. And I love that, so it's a good thing.
That's the thing I love about YouTube. Just as its own entity, YouTube has a lot of downside. So, but I don't want to get into that. Just focusing on the positives of it, you're circumventing the machine, right? Like, for instance, magazines. You didn't necessarily have to be good or knowledgeable or talented or anything to make it in the magazine business. You only had to know whose ass to kiss and when to kiss it for what reason. There are a lot of golden childs out there, that golden children in the magazine world that really had no place being there.
Yep.
And people with real substance, because generally speaking, the people with real substance are a little on the gritty side. They're a little on the antisocial side. You find that the deeper somebody is into a certain thing, the less they come across well in media.
Yeah, social skills. I mean, the more believable they are, that's the thing. And one of the problems I found was that sometimes, like working with I'll just say various previous administrations, we're talking a long time ago, but if they didn't like you, or if it was a thing where you didn't hang around with those guys and go to the hockey game together or whatever it was, they didn't think people liked you because you and they had a weird relationship. The reality was is when you get on that stage, that's what matters. But it was a weird thing. It was a little cliquey kind of deal, and it was strange. I'm glad to be done with it.
Yeah. But no, YouTube gives you a chance to just you be you, and you'll build your tribe, man. The people who identify with you, and that's what it is. YouTube. That's exactly what it is. You're building a tribe. You have. There are some people who just have channels where the viewers will come and go, but for the most part, you're building a tribe. It's people who identify with you. You're with your unique thing or your unique perspective or whatever it happens to be. But it's your tribe, and you don't really get that through the magazines. You don't really get that through commercial TV. You get that through a more direct thing. You know what I'm saying? Well, and you're natural with this.
It can evolve, but with that said, it takes time. This is way faster. Yeah. And I'm sure that I imagine you could probably crash and burn just as quickly here. I don't know, but
I've seen people do it.
Yeah, but with magazines like Al Kirschenbaum, he's got a big following because he's a good tech writer. Richard Ehrenberg, frankly, he's a very good tech writer. His personality is great too. But with that said, a lot of folks do grow followings, and for good reasons, in magazine, etc. But here too, because you can be more personal here. I remember in magazines, as you remember, you brought a lot of personality across. I remember, spreading the world faster than Krakenades combined. That was what hamster drag racing. Remember that whole thing? That line, it was funny, But with that said, you can get a following by being interesting in the paper world, but it takes longer for people to get to know you because they're reading an ink blob on a hunk of paper, not so much seeing your face move and all that. But anyway,
the hamster drags. You probably hang on, hey Cat. I don't know if Kathy's here or what. Cat. I don't know where she went. She probably left me. She took this opportunity. There you are. Do we have a copy of the hamster drags anywhere?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you have any short Cars Illustrated with the hamster drags?
You have a super chat right there.
Oh, we do have a super chat. I'm going to get to the super chat in 1 minute. So for people who don't know, I used to do a magazine called Cars Illustrated, and we had pet hamsters. This is like almost 40 years ago. It was like 35, 38 years ago. And Kathy and I had a couple of pet hamsters. And they had these habit trail dragsters. Do you remember this? Oh yeah, you remember it because you just brought it up. Yeah. So habit trail used to, I don't know if they're still around, they used to make like things to make your hamsters do tricks, spirals and all kinds of other stuff. So there was a dragster with a wheel in it, and you would put the hamster in the wheel, and the hamster would go, and the dragster would go. So we got a couple of these things and a couple of hamsters, and we ran drag races with me and my friends. We used to race the hamsters down the hallway of our apartment. So that was the hamster drags that he's talking about.
Yeah, it was about a 3-page article. I have it in the other room, but if I run and get it, it'll take 5 minutes. That was a great story. Like things like that, or just that would not have happened in Hot Rod. Well, it depending on who the editor was, it would have happened. Terry Cook in the 70s was down for crazy.
Yeah.
All kinds of, and they used to hang around on top of the Peterson building smoking Mother Nature, which, it explains a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I remember who, I think it was him or John Asher, somebody was talking about crawling through the vent system at the Peterson building, There was a lot of craziness in the magazine business. It was fun.
I remember one time, I think it was Terry Cook actually he published an article. He had to hold it to a mirror to see it.
Right. Oh, there was Terry Cook's best.
I don't know where they went.
Okay, don't worry about it. We're past that already.
Okay.
But we're going to get to the super chat in 1 minute.
Okay.
Terry Cook did the greatest thing ever. I think it was in 1969, might have been 1968, in Carcraft magazine. And what he did was, he had the editorial picture, the picture, right? So It started out in January, okay? So picture this now. Now I'm the picture of Terry Cook, right? So it started out in January like this, okay? And then February was like this, and then March was like this, and April, May, June, July, August, and he just spun around in a circle.
I never noticed that. But
Yeah.
see, I remember there was one in the back of his head. I'm like, what the hell? Now that makes sense. I get it. So the whole year.
The whole year he was spinning around in a circle.
Only in the 70s, right? Terry Cook and company. That's cool.
All right, we have a super chat here. Thank you, Alan F. Stop Pictures. Hello, Steve and Tony. Can you explain what planning ahead is? I understand what porting ahead is. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not really sure.
Milling. I think planing, milling. Is that planing or planning?
It's just planning.
Planing. He's probably referring to milling, taking deck surface off to reduce the paper size, right?
My glasses are crooked.
The ear. There you go.
Planning ahead, I think you mean.
Yeah, planning ahead. Okay, planning ahead was a direct connection slogan. It was it was on a T-shirt. They sold it on a T-shirt and stickers. And if I remember correctly, it was like a picture of a head with like machining, machining hieroglyphics. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, if I can't think of the term for it now. But it was a planning ahead was a direct connection slogan / like thing. It wasn't an actual. Does that make any sense? No?
It's kind of Greek to me. I hadn't. So it was part of the direct connection, sort of just creating a systems approach, plan ahead instead of be sudden.
Right, planning ahead. And it was, like I said, it's a planning ahead, and then it was a picture of the head, and like I think they used it as a full-page magazine. This is probably around 1975, 1974. But Alan, that's what planning ahead is. It was just a slogan. It has nothing to do with porting aheads. Does anybody in the audience land remember that, or am I just hallucinating? Because I did a lot of acid when I was a kid, and then there's a lot of head trauma. You know what I mean? I had, you know what I mean?
I was 12 when I did purple microdot for the first time. I kid you not. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, 12. Oh, what was I thinking? But whatever. And by the time I was 17, I was done with that stuff. Like, I don't know. It was weird.
Right. Same thing with me. By the time I was like 18 or 19, I was just like done, man. I had just done, you know, and I went like total straight edge. It was like I didn't want beer. I didn't want nothing. You know what I mean?
The first album I ever bought was Cream's Disraeli Gears. It was probably 1978. The album was 10 years old, but it seemed like it was a million years old. But the psychedelic thing and Hendrix and stuff, I love that. You know, Vanilla Fudge, where they take popular songs, slow them down. And we used to put our own headphones on, like 6, 7 of us, between 12 and 14, and go visit Uncle Willie. Anyway, it explains a lot. No, anyway.
Kinsley's Tay-Sachs Miracle. Thank you, man. 451 stroker, stock 440 crank, stock rods, 13.1 compression, 6,500 RPM, sprint car on dirt. Will those last a year? Those are heavy rods to be slinging around at that kind of RPM for that much time, man.
Yeah, why stock rods? There's a lot of billet stuff. It's cheap. Why? Why stock rods? Is a mandate in the rules, the class? Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, the 3 3/4 inch stroke crank is perfect. The 4-inch bore might be a little overkill for that, but that gives you a heavier piston. I mean, you're talking about sustained high RPM. Like you're in the 7,500 RPM range forever, and on and off the throttle up there. That's a big ass heavy piston and a very heavy connecting rod. I would rather give up the cubic inches, make a 426 load deck out of a 383 using that 440 crank. And then a lightweight rod.
Yeah. And there's also a thing called toss loads, wherein if the tires aren't hooked and the car isn't planted, those tires are spinning on dirt. The engine can not free rev, but there's not as much load on it, and it's tougher on rods. The stretch factor, when the motor's under load all the way down the track, but if it's actually, as you say, throttling on and off, slipping and sliding, the tires are just spraying, and you're running 65. That's tough on a rod. But
it's like marine application, where the prop is loaded and unloaded, loaded and unloaded constantly, and that's all transferring to the crank. That's why marine engines are under such incredible loads. People don't. Drag engines aren't nearly as bad on the bottom end as marine engines are. And a sprint car motor, I think, would fall into that category too. Because as Steve was saying, you're slipping and gripping, slipping and gripping, slipping and gripping, on and off throttle, on and off throttle. Man, that is a heavy rod to be asking to do that.
Speaking of marine engines, I like to read a lot of different things. And U-boats, apparently, in World War II, when they were patrolling on the surface, there was a very rapid and quick connection from the engine room to the captain up on the bridge. When the props would leave the water, the two diesels, the manned diesels, would rev, and the whole boat would shudder when they go back into the water. It was a whole thing. It was a problem. So they would generally try not to be on the surface during heavy weather. But it was a weird thing. Imagine that too, 18-cylinder manned diesels freewheeling at 3,000 RPM and back into the water as the props churn. God.
Can you imagine the load?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they weren't 8-cylinder. They were big, like 12-cylinder. I think they were 12-cylinder MAN diesels. These big monsters. They were the Germans. We had them too, of course, on Pacific subs. But anyway, yeah.
So you bring up the U-boat, right? And that has a correlation to something we, as street race kind of guys from that era, from the 70s and the 80s, we used to call things Q ships.
Yeah.
So you know what a Q ship was, right?
Sure, yeah. The ship that would the sides would come down, out come the cannons, and they load up with plywood and wood so they get holes, but they still float. And, guys would walk around in dresses on the deck, and then funny they'd come. Sink that.
Yeah. The Q ship was a sleeper. They used to take these they would take their battleships and dress them out as whatever kind of ship that they would use. I'm not a
or whatever.
But they would dress them down as like freighters, and they would have the crew would be dressed in like civilian clothes hanging over the edge. So when the U-boat was coming up on this thing, they'd be like, "Oh, it's just a freighter," and then here come the bombs, and that was the Q ship.
That's right. Better get put.
Okay, Alan, f-stop pictures. I meant to plane, not plan. My iPod slipped on me. It's in a plane, my bad. Okay, yeah. Oh, planing is the same. That's milling the head. That's taking the surface of the head that faces the combustion chambers and cutting material off of it to reduce the size of the combustion chambers.
And sometimes through the surface. But keep in mind, when you do that, you got to make sure your intake manifold has also been modified to suit. Because as you know, the heads get closer, the bolts don't line up, the ports don't line up. But you knew that, I'm hoping. Not you, Tony, but the viewer, Alan F. But Alan F.
I hope this doesn't spoil the video for tomorrow, right? So here's listen to this one, right? I hurt my back 2 days ago. I was working on the boat, and I was throwing cushions over the front. And I just took one of those wrong steps, and I wrenched the bottom of my back. So I've been like hunched over and crippled and everything. So this morning, the junkyard jet guys got there. The car they built, right? The junkyard jet guys got there, and I was like, I gotta go back to the house. I'm done here for now. I'll come back later on, and we'll film whatever you guys are doing. So I leave. I come back at about 5 o'clock, and they're working, and they're showing me everything they did, and we're shooting a video. And they wanted to clean the head. They wanted to plane the head, to just surface it. So they took a board, a piece of board. They wrapped emery cloth around it, and they took a battery from one of my cars and bungee cord the battery to the board, and they were using that as the plane. And it was like, it's hokey as hell, but man, it's going to work.
Yeah, aluminum head. I'm guessing, right? Got to be an aluminum head to do that properly. Was it an iron head?
Magnum head, yeah.
Okay. Well.
Oh, it'll work.
It'll take a while, but you get it done. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, they weren't trying to mill it, just surface it, just clean it and make sure it was true. Yeah. They use a battery. Why not? Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Alan. Guys, I'm sorry, I didn't even say. Usually, I acknowledge all of our regulars that pop in here, and I didn't today. I'm so sorry, guys. You know who you are. Thank you for popping in. Who of our mods is here? I think I saw Fubar. Let's see. Oh, they're here someplace. Okay. East Scaglio. So I'm trying to figure out how to get this off of here, Steve. Hide current comment. There we go. Okay. This is why I need Kathy to run the technical. Oh, Mr. Will sent the super chat. Mr. Will, how are you, my brother? And thank you for that. Hey, Tony and Steve, just want everyone to know my Google account and credit card was hacked. Oh, my God. Google may have been hacked for weeks. There are 2 Google accounts using my email. Everyone be careful.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that really you, Mr. Will, or is that the imposter, Mr. Will?
Right. Right. How many cubic inches in a 426 Hemi? Ask them that one. You know, that's usually an acid test for imposters. Yeah.
Jody Calhoun says Steve Meggs rocks. Yes, he does, and I hope you guys are subscribed to his channel. Steve, anybody, for just anybody, I can't believe any of you wouldn't know who you are, but just in case there's somebody who doesn't know who you are, tell them real quick what you do and your channel info and your website and everything else, and how they can get in touch with you if they've got something cool that you may,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so yeah, the Steve Maggs YouTube channel. It's been about a month and a half. It's been up, and actually, well, a little more. Actually, it's more than that since I think May. But we've got about 200 videos on there, and also the Barrett Jackson auctions on A&E. It is now, and that'll be coming up in January. In fact, sorry, History Channel. Excuse me, History Channel. There's a difference, believe me. Anyway. But yeah, in January it'll be 8 days in Scottsdale, and also Junkyard Gold for Roadkill. That's all reruns at this point in time. I did a lot of that, and also I'm a sort of a spokesperson for Direct Connection. In fact, Dodge.
you know that.
Yeah, and I spent about 6 days in Detroit 2 weeks ago, shooting a bunch of videos for new stuff for the Direct Connection. Now, Mopar Performance goes away. Direct Connection replaces it, and it's no big surprise. The days of 40 camshafts and 15 different leaf spring combinations, they're over. There's barely any 318, 340, 360 stuff. It's mostly late model Hemi and certainly Hellcat, that sort of thing. There's lots of that because the reality is the aftermarket already kind of makes all that stuff in the retro engines. But Direct Connection is coming back. Yeah, December 8th, I think, is the official date, but it seemed like they were all over the world with it. And of course, if you watch any pro drag racing, you'll see Direct Connection logos on the pro stalkers, the funny cars, the dragsters that are sponsored by Dodge. So yeah, Direct Connection is back, and it's an honor to be associated with those guys. But yeah, basically self-employed and enjoying giving cars a voice for the last 30 years, something like that, I guess. But,
Tim Kucinix.
Yeah.
What kind of guy is he?
Oh, he's a good dude. Yeah, he's the real thing. He was a street racer, 5-liter Mustangs back in the 1990s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's the real thing. And he's actually the guy who's responsible for. There's a new thing now. The chief donut maker, Dodge, is giving away 25 Hellcats, not one or two. 25 Hellcats to YouTube influencers, and that was his idea. Yeah, so he's the right guy for the job, and he's basically the one, as you may know, about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, Dodge was in a Hail Mary position. Basically, they either went for broke with a high performance image, all about Hemis, the ads with the kids driving the cars, that just crazy stuff. And he's the one behind that. It's not some ad agency. He's the guy behind that. So Dodge is in very good hands right now, and sales are amazing. It's wonderful. And I got to say, they're kind of bucking the system, where General Motors and Ford are getting kind of green. And I get that. Electricity is cool, blah, blah, blah. But Dodge is going to bring muscle with, the electricity, the brotherhood of muscle, gas and electric and all that stuff. But Dodge is all about American muscle, and they're hitting that hard, and it's working for them, which is cool.
But now, my understanding of this is that for the next 2 years, they're going to be pushing the Hellcat stuff, but the whole Hellcat thing is over come 2024.
Yeah, I understand the Charger platform is going away, and I can't predict the future. And frankly, I don't know, but I can't imagine that there won't be some replacements for those things that will have good power and burn gasoline and have 8 cylinders. I don't know anything that, I don't know. I wish I knew, but I want to be invited back. There was I couldn't even bring my camera. It was at the SRT Center on Featherston Road right there in Auburn Hills. Great place. And, it's the place where, so much history has been made over the last 20 years. And they're closing it down. They're moving it to another location. But with that said, I was in this room, this massive garage with 6 vertical lifts. There were 6 Hellcats, Demons, Red Eyes, all sitting there. I'm like, wow. If this was 1970, it'd be 6-packs and Hemis, but this is it's as good, But there they were, doing performance work on these things. So it's cool, Yeah.
Got a super chat, Uncle V. Thank you for the super chat. Miss you, Uncle Tony. I haven't been anywhere, man. I'm here every day. But thank you for the super chat. Let's see. It's just a machining operation. Steve, as you've got the comments on your side, right?
I see, enjoy the show, can see and hear. I see that one, bottom low. Okay.
Yeah, if as you scroll through, if you see anything that you want to address or jump on or whatever,
Yeah, I don't see that, Tony. I don't have that function here. Yeah,
you
I don't
can't,
see anything. I
you
just see
can't, you can see the comments though.
no. Only when you pop them up. When you activate them, they pop up. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay. You have a way to do that. I'm not sure exactly how you access it, but try to access it so this way
well,
you can.
I see leave studio. Don't do that. I see share, cam mic, stop cam, mute. Don't see. There's nothing else. That came up. How difficult? I saw that, but you popped that up. Yes.
Okay, that's a good one. Thank you for the super chat, Caravaggio 2012. How difficult will it? Oh boy, that's a really good question. How difficult will it be for someone like me to daily 60, 70 vehicles in 10 to 20 years? Thoughts on the future, guys? 73 F100 and 64 Galaxy owner here.
I don't know. I say this: as long as they're selling brand new Tahoes and Rams and things that burn gas with 6 to even 8 year notes, you can bet there's going to be gasoline to burn. If they stop selling vehicles with notes that far, because you can imagine the class action lawsuit that will erupt if and when gasoline goes away for vehicles that people are still paying good money for. So I think that the end of gasoline, yeah, eventually, but it'll be a while. That's my 10 cents.
I don't think gasoline is going anywhere in our lifetime, in our kids' lifetime, or probably our grandkids' lifetime. And there are so many synthetic ways to make gasoline and so many other alternative fuels because in a pinch, you could run these things on alcohol, you can run them on propane, you can run them on, there's so many different ways you can operate an internal combustion engine. I think the difficulty is going to be in certain parts. I think that as long as you're sticking with basic production parts, right? So in other words, like stay away from the aftermarket. In other words, let's say you build your car or you modify your car to take a certain aftermarket ignition system or a certain aftermarket fuel injection system or anything like that. There's a very good chance those parts will either become obsoleted or but if you stick with basic production parts or production style parts, you won't have any problem. Even 100 years into the future, getting parts for, let's say, a 302 Ford. You know what I mean? A common thing like a carburetor filter or ignition parts or something like that. Keep it simple, keep it basic, keep it as stock as you can, and drive it with a smile on your face and don't worry about it. Nobody's going to come and take your toy away. Even the scumbag elites love cars too. So you know what I mean? They may not have any regard for the average passenger car, you know what I mean? But as far as interesting, beautiful, classic, collector, muscle, everything else, even the evil ones love those cars too. They're not going anywhere. Don't worry about it. Mike O, thank you for the super chat. Loving both of your channels. I thought about Steve recently when he bought a vintage Revell bed bug VW microbus, 125 scale model.
That's cool. Yeah. The Revell, of course, Venice, California, originally one of the big American model car makers. And the bed bug was something, I think, in the mid 70s. But microbus and cool stuff. Yeah, models, ancient old model kits are one of my favorite things. I still collect them. And they're a part of my YouTube channel. When I can't go to the junkyard or work in the garage, I default to talking about toys and models in the living room because it never rains in my living room. You know what I mean? It's always warm. But yeah, models are cool. Yeah. It's funny. There's a fellow named Mark Trostel, who is the design chief for SRT. He's the guy who designs Vipers and stuff. And Mark's a huge model builder. So it's cool. Never grow up, always build models. Because they're it's how a lot of people start. I still build models. In fact, I'll show you something real quick. Remember my Wilshire Shaker, this Nova right here? Remember this?
I love that car. Yeah.
Well, I'm building a 1/25th scale version of it, and here it is right here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did the paint on it last night and stuff, the drivers in it and stuff, and I'm doing a lot of detail, and I'll show you real quick here. So I'll try and get the body off. There we go. I'm destroying it, but I did like detail inside. I even have like a little push button, the 502 big lock right there and stuff, and that's me kind of right there, sort of with the glasses. I don't know.
That's awesome.
But I altered the wheelbase myself, and I cut the wheel openings on this thing and whatnot like that. So, but yeah, I had a problem though that you can see the graphics right here. They pulled up. See where it says Wilshire? It's screwed up.
Yeah.
Second set of decals, but oh, that broke my heart when that happened because you're screwed. So after I clear it, I'll be able to work.
Now, how did you make those graphics?
Well, there's a company called Bad Habit Hobbies, and they called me up maybe 9 years ago and said, "Hey, Steve, we want to make a decal set of your Wilshire Shaker Nova." I said, "Yeah, that's fine." And he said, "Do you want anything?" No, it's fine. So I sent them. I took high-res pictures of the side, front, back, all that stuff straight on, sent it to them, and then they only charged me $9 a piece for the decals instead of 22. I had to pay for the decal, but that's all right. So I bought 3 sets. But the only thing is, I'm a little bummed out with Bad Habit because I had to clear them before I could use them. If you don't know that, when you put it in water, they dissolve. The decals just become 1,000 pieces. Like, what the hell? Kind of weird. So with that said, I put some clear, let that stuff dry, and then delicately I could do it. But beyond that, there's a company called Slicks that
I've heard of that.
Yeah, they make decals for not trans kits, but like if you want to take the Golden Commandos 65 Plymouth by Mobius and turn it into Lee Smith's car or something like that without decals, it's kind of hard. Well, Slick specializes in filling the gaps and offering decals for like rambunctious or whatever it might be, and they're licensed for the most part. They do a lot of NASCAR stuff too, but also a lot of AFX and funny car stuff. But Slicks is good too. They're another company that does that.
Now you bring all of that up, right? This is something Dallas, AHRA,
Yeah.
Dallas is got a Forrest Pitcock on the weekend, the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Golden Commando, Forrest Pitcock. Wow. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's like 90 years old, and he lives like in the town, the next town over from where I am right now, in Woodbury. So Dallas is going to have him on a live, and I think you guys got to jump on there.
I'd like to. Sure. Yeah. Give me a call and I'll jump in. Yeah.
Dallas, if you're watching this, Dallas, hit him up because that's you need Steve more than you need me for that one. He knows this stuff.
I've worked with Forrest before. At various times, I do different things for Dodge. Right now, it's Direct Connection, but I used to do the Chrysler's at Carlisle show, and they had a sort of the Dodge Performance Showcase. And for about 5 years, I was there, and they used to have like Ram Chargers reunions, and it was my honor to run the microphone when Tom Hoover, when he was alive, and all those guys would stand around, and Mike Buckle and Forrest Pitcock. Those guys were there, and it was amazing to hear those guys tell their stories. So yeah, anyway, it's amazing he's still around. That's great, 90 years old, and he's the one who used to deal with the hydrazine. So if anyone's gonna glow at night, it's gonna be him. But he's doing healthy, and that's great. Good.
See, there you go. He messed around with nitro and hydrazine, and he's 90 years old, and he's still going strong. See,
yeah.
Just like Garth. I remember when I was a kid, and I just started screwing around with nitro. People would be like, "Oh, that stuff's gonna kill you. You'll never see 60 years old." And the oldest guys around at the time were like in their 60s, right? Because it's gonna kill you. But you look at somebody like Garlitz, right? And he's the eternal fountain of youth. What he's like 88 now, 87. Karen Massini's, even Arnie Beswick, man, he's got to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
When I knew Arnie 20 years ago, 25 years ago, give me a second now. What year is this? This is 2021. I knew Arnie about around 25 years ago. And back then, he was afraid to tell his age because he was afraid they would give him a problem with licensing.
Yeah. I could see that where they might be worried or something. But yeah.
But that was then. He's still at it. He's still at it. He's got to be 100 freaking years old.
Yeah. You told me one time he had a whole bunch of 64 iron K heads that were in a fire. And
they were stacked like wood, right? And they were in a fire, and they were all shattered.
Yeah, wow.
They were all shattered.
So they were red hot. The firemen hosed them down, and boom, they got blood. I mean, those things. I have to say that somebody will buy one of those. I'll buy one. I'd give a few $100 for one of those. No joke. Just to have a wall.
There was stuff that he had that was not for sale. So
I just hope it doesn't go to a dumpster. That happens, man. People die, and then nobody knows, nobody cares. The dumpster comes out and it's gone, just for a lack of somebody knowing and caring.
I think in Arnie's case, there's enough people who know how significant, how historical his world is, so that I think the stuff will be safe. I don't think anything's going to a dumpster. But when he gave me the tour of his place, because I stayed there for a weekend. And he was giving me the tour of all little nooks and crannies and showing me this and that. And he has two, from the factory, he's got two all aluminum Ram Air 5 Pontiacs, something that isn't supposed to exist. Not the heads. He's got aluminum Ram Air 5 blocks.
Wow.
Brand new virgin cast just for him with factory part numbers and everything, because they were trying to keep him Pontiac powered since 1970. Right. And the factory they cast him these things. He ran one of them, and he had a couple of spares. And then that was the time when he was transitioning to the Chrysler stuff, and he ended up buying a load of 1964 Hemi style. That's where those heads came from. And then the fire wiped it out. But the Ram Air 5 Pontiac motors are complete. And I did a story in Superstock magazine. I had pictures of those things. But the funniest thing, right? The funniest thing was there was a loft, okay? I don't know if I told you the story or not, right? So he says, so after he showed me everything that's around the house and all that, and things where he had this buried and what he did with that and so on and so forth, he says, come here, I want to show you something, right? So I follow him. He climbs up into this like corner of this lofty type of thing. It's all by itself, right? And he says, I know you'll appreciate this. So he reaches in there and he grabs out a yellow fire bottle. Remember the fire bottles, the Halon bottles were like yellow back in like 69, 70, 71, right? Yeah. And he hands it to me, right? And he says, do you know where that came from? I says, no. He says, Jungle left it here.
They were usually clipped to the roll bar, like left and right. You know, the driver left and right to go.
Right, or they mount them right on top of the steering column with the knob facing you like this. Yeah. And Lieberman had just been there right before he got killed, and he forgot the fire bottle, and he kept the fire bottle. Wow. And he was like, "Yeah, it was Jungle's." I says, "What are you going to do with it?" He says, "It's with me forever," and then he put it back.
Yeah. What a memento.
Yeah,
now, you've been to Garlitz's place before, right?
Many times. I was there like 2 weeks after he opened it.
Yeah. You must have seen the Ardon heads in the box.
No, I didn't see those.
Yeah, he's always collecting, so they might have gained, but he let me have free reign back there. I did a story for Street Rodder Deluxe, I think it was, a magazine. I think they're still running, I don't know, but just basically a shop tour at Don Garlitz. He says just have fun. So I filled my camera with all kinds of stuff, and it was an astonishing trip through his the back pages of Don Garlitz. But yeah, amazing. Even like a supercharger manifold that went on top of a flathead that had sort of a built-in circular I don't know what they call it, the Graham Nash. Remember the Graham? No, not Graham Nash. That's Charles Wheeler. But the Graham, supercharged Graham. Remember that car? Had this Graham Shark. It was called the Shark Nose Graham. But it had this weird circular blower on top of the engine with a 2-barrel on it. That basic same kind of blower was also. Well, I guess it was a circuit. It was a weird, goofy flat. If you get a chance, just Google supercharged Graham Shark Nose, 1937, 38.
It's a Latham supercharger, and it's actually an aircraft application that they used on the car.
Gotcha. All right, and so that thing basically is it's adapted for a flathead, and he's got one of those new old stock in a box. So yeah, amazing stuff.
See, the thing with Garlitz is we never talked cars. I mean, we've met each other many times, but we talk UFOs.
You're right.
That sounds crazy, right? But that's. Even like in the pits, in between, what I mean? It's like anytime it was just UFOs. It was the only thing we ever talked about. Never anything having to do with cars.
Yeah. He told me he was on a passenger plane. He looked at there was a long metallic tube flying next to him. I didn't want to say, well, what about everybody else on a plane? Did you not all freak out and point out the window? What is that thing? I don't know. It's weird, but yeah. He likes to, and he's got that giant green Martian in his office. He's a cool guy.
Well, if you go back about 15, 20 years ago, he considered himself to be a UFO researcher. And he had a website called Garlitz Don. Instead of Don Garlitz, it was Garlitz Don. And it was UFO investigator. And that was because he was trying to create a separate identity away from the cars.
Okay. Huh.
And he wanted to be a serious UFO researcher. And I guess the cars just had more of a pull on his life. And so he let that go. But let me tell you, he knows a lot as far as that type of thing goes.
I mean, he was also running for state rep in Florida or something like that. I have all his press kits, but Superpower magazine. He says it's a whole bunch of stuff. Congress, darn it, it's for Congress.
For Congress, right?
Yeah, stickers. I have a lot of that stuff. I know someday.
That was about the same time.
Okay.
That was about the same time. And then, like I said, I guess just the pull of cars just sucked them back in, and that was the end of that. So let's see who we got here. John Wilburn is saying, Tony and Steve, if Steve clicks comments in the upper right, he can see the comments in StreamYard. It's the first part.
Did it. There it is. All right. Thank you, John Wilburn. I just did it. There it is. All right.
See, this is why our mods are all right. Thank you, man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. More production credits per pound. Cool. All right. Yeah. Now I can see it. Boy, I'll tell you. And I'm guessing that fella's under 25, right?
What's that?
I always joke with people. I say, wow, did you patent that? That's a great idea. You should patent that. I always joke with people because it makes me sound like an old fart, which I'm not. But how do you
I literally, and you'll see the video comes out tomorrow. I was busting Austin's chops because he had the battery bungee to the board with the emery cloth to level the head, and I was like, you got to patent that. That's going to end up, Elon Musk is going to want that. That's the next step for SpaceX.
Yeah. Oh, lots of stuff here. Yeah. I went and took you can do them all if you want. I love them. They're all good.
What's that?
Well, I see up here, Watts Endova, estimate Holland to Mopar A body header liner on the assembly headliner. Oh, wow. Okay. Jesus. Yeah. This is, yeah. I do all of them. Hit them all if you want. It's all good.
So John Wilburn picked up a 69 Roadrunner. John, have you seen this? Have you seen this, Steve?
I have not.
He picked up I thought of you right away. He picked up a 69 Roadrunner. It's roachy. It's really roachy. And I think today I saw where he was going to be doing a video on going through it, like all the stuff you might have found inside of it. I don't know. Did you do that, John? If you did, put up a link to that video because I think people will want to see that. Fubar, our awesome mod, Fubar the Axe, just put up a link to your YouTube channel. So, guys, the link that Fubar put up there, go over there, subscribe to Steve, hit the bells, ring, do all of the stuff that you're supposed to do when you
subscribe. I guess
subscribe, right? Share, do all of that stuff. Let's see. Cat's Garage. I just happen to have a Drag Racing Monthly, March 1997, with Arnie the Farmer article by Tony DeFeo sitting right here. There you go. Okay, I haven't seen that article. In fact, I don't think I ever actually even saw it in print. Like, it was the kind of thing where I go over to Steve's house and say, here, and I give him a bunch of stuff and I'd leave. I need it. Then I would get a check a couple of weeks later. So I don't think I ever actually saw that story in print. Cat's Garage, are there pictures of the Ram Air 5, the aluminum Ram Air 5s in there?
And did you shoot your own pictures, Tony? Do you have a proof sheet with more stuff on it?
I didn't save anything. Like, literally, I didn't save anything. Like, a story, I would hand in the package, and then the package would come back to me later on, and I would just toss it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean,
for a Mopar guy not to collect and keep everything, it's kind of a little weird. You know, not weird. Huh, okay.
I was published in way over 100 magazines. Yeah. I have a total of maybe 5 or 6 of them here, and only because Kathy hid them, because she knows like I just, oh, look, I'm in here, and I throw it away because I try to always keep moving forward. Like I try to ignore anything that happened yesterday, and always keep moving forward. You know what I mean? So it's just the thing I have.
I have everything I ever did, like times 2 or 3, because I used to think to myself, there's going to be a day when I'm not doing this. I'm like, wow, I really did that. I mean, that's a long time ago, but I go to the newsstand. I buy stuff that I'm in. The most recent thing I have, Hemmings Muscle Machines. I did an old 488 stroker build, maybe 2 issues back. And I bought 2 copies. I have them in the other room. I don't know why, but I did. You don't get them for free, by the way, either. That's all right, though, because, these guys have no time to be sending you, nothing worse than being a pain in the ass. And, hey, can you send me a couple copies? Because then the editor has to stop everything, grab a couple of copies from somewhere, often they're not around, and then send it. They hate that. So I just don't want to be the pain in the ass. I just buy it on the newsstand. Anyway, so
I've told this story before. I don't know if I told you this one, right? So Ron McGonigal ran an article I did called "A Few Moments in Hell," which was my fuel altered. Okay, and it was in April. I think it was April '97 issue of Hot Rod, right? So it was a 4 or 5 page spread. It was nice. So yeah, I'm on my motorcycle, okay, and I'm riding back to the house, and it was kind of chilly out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop at the 7-Eleven and get a cup of coffee and mellow out for a minute. So I pull in, I go to the 7-Eleven, I go in, I make myself a cup of coffee, and I'm trying to warm up a little bit. And I'm looking at the magazine rack, and I see the new issue of Hot Rod, and I'm like, oh, I'm in that one, right? So I pick it up, right, and I'm looking through it, and I find the story, and I'm like, oh, this looks good, okay. This is great, right? This is great. Steve, have you ever seen the top of your own head?
No, on a security camera maybe, but no, not on purpose. Why? No.
All right. The photographer, Norman Blake, was a photographer.
Yeah.
So while we were working on the car, we were this is in Englishtown on the pit side, and I had pitted the car right behind the stands. So Norman went up into the stands and shot over the back down on me working on the car.
Dramatic shot, yeah.
So I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm like, that looks cool. That's good, right? Who's that? Who's the bald guy working on my car? I'm like, who's the bald guy working on my car? Who the hell ever seen the top of your own head, right?
So is that when you found out you were bald?
I said, yeah, exactly. I said, I'm bald. Holy shit, right? I put the magazine down. I finished my coffee. I had a friend of mine. She used to cut hair. So I rode right over to her house, and I says, shave my head. She says, what? I says, shave my head. She says, why do you want to shave your head? I says, I'm bald. I didn't know I was bald. So she says, okay. So she shaved my head. And as I left her house, I says, wait a minute. I don't really care. Why did I do that?
It is a strange thing. I'm 57, and it is strange to realize you're not 20 anymore. It creeps up on you. I'll put it like that. And I feel what you're saying. I know.
Well, I was like 40 or thereabouts. I'm 60 now. I was about 40. I don't know, the late 30s. But that was the last haircut I ever got.
Okay. Well,
I haven't got a haircut since.
Yeah.
All right. Who do we have here? Hide current comment. I wanted to see if they responded about the pictures of that. I don't see it. I wanted to know if the pictures of Rainier 5 was in that ish copy of Drag Racing Monthly.
The way you can tell a Ram Air 5 Pontiac instantly is they have 4 evenly spaced exhaust ports. You know what I mean? That's how you can tell them right away. But yeah.
Abel D. This is a good question, Abel D. UT Steve, do you guys hate your previous work? I surely hate my sketchbook from last year and always think, how dummy were you thinking like that? But I guess it's called evolving. Go ahead, Steve.
You know, I don't know. I don't think so. Now, here's the thing: as an artist or drawing, that's a little different from writing, and I can see where your skill set might evolve. But as a writer, I pretty much, I write them and I agonize over them. I try to make it as dense as I can without being too long. So no, I don't hate the old stuff, and No. But as an illustrator, yes. Like some of my old model cars, like, oh my God, look at that! I was 18. I used my elbow to paint that body. It looks like what I used a sandpaper. So I can see evolution and being a little weirded about your older stuff. But when it comes to writing and me, it's all the same. How about you, Tony?
I hate everything I've ever done. As soon as I get a check for something, as soon as I get paid for something, I just want to put it in my past. It's like, those actors that have the gay porn in their past, you know what I mean? And they're trying to distance themselves from it. That's the way I'm with every single thing I've ever done. It's like as soon as I get paid for it, I'm like, okay, bye. That never happened.
I had one experience like that. Okay, it was not the gay porn thing. It was the writing thing. No, when I was at Hot Rod Magazine, there was a brief period where Super Street Magazine was really coming on strong. And of course, Super Street was all about sport compacts and Hondas and stuff. And the publisher of Hot Rod said, hey, look at how many ads they have. Hot Rod should be doing that too. Although Hot Rod had about 10 times as many readers, they were having a moment of crisis. So they said, guys, we need you to adopt a spring break writing style with the next issue and get we had an Acura Integra LS or something like that project car. Now, David Freiberger says, Steve, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to assign you to evolve the Integra. So what I did is I put a lightweight flywheel, which killed the low end torque that didn't already have.
Right.
On it, put little drag sticks, and kind of ruined a nice little sport compact car, making it kind of racy. But he said to me, Steve, if you want, I understand fully if you don't put your name on the stories. And I said, no, it's okay. But that was a weird time. It was like Hot Rod suddenly going, it was like a rock station going rap overnight, and people, the readers freaked out. And that came and went quickly. But if you ever read about 3 issues of Hot Rod with a whole bunch of Honda stuff in them, that was what that was. I wasn't ashamed of it. But Freiberger said, if you don't want to put your name on it, that's fine. So that was a weird moment. But
there's a lot of stuff I didn't put my name on. And Gromer would leave my name off a lot of stuff too. If I had too many bylines in one magazine, he'd sneak my name out of there.
Yeah, it would seem low buck or something like that. I get it. Yeah. But
this is a good one. A lot of development and writing has been done on the mechanical bits of Mopars. We're both guilty of that, right?
Yeah.
But the wiring seems to have been left out in the cold. Way too many Mopars burn due to bad wiring.
Well, the bulkhead connector is a classic for rust and corrosion and crappy connections and bad grounds, and yeah.
The Mopar wiring itself is not bad. It's the Mopar alternator gauge that's the problem. Up from the beginning of Chrysler products up until 1975 was the last year. The alternator gauge is a live part of the circuit.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is that I know you know this stuff, Steve, but I mean for Ken here. So Ken, on a typical Chrysler product of that era, the wire goes from the battery, right, to directly from the battery into the car to the ignition switch. From the ignition switch, it splits off. One wire goes to the alternator gauge, and then the other wire from the alternator gauge, there's 2 posts on it, goes back out to the car through a fusible link and then to the back of the alternator. So it's a live part of the circuit. And the only thing that separates that circuit from the aluminum ground of the dash panel itself is a thin piece of it's like a fiberboard. It's like a cardboard fiberboard type of thing. And what happens is if you have a charging system that's overcharging, or if you have a bad connection at the bulkhead connector on that post that runs to it, it heats up and eventually wears that fiber paper board, whatever the frig it is, little rectangular strip, wears that out. It makes contact and shorts that hot wire against the dashboard, and that's where the fires happen. Besides that, if you take that one system out of the equation, Mopar wiring from that era is bulletproof. Bulletproof.
Yeah, the fusible links, nice and stuff. I have found early A bodies in particular are classic for that. And it won't necessarily burn the car down, but what you'll do is you'll take it apart. You'll realize that the insulation has burnt off a lot of the wires, and it's been running like that in some cases. You're like, what the hell? Yeah, it can be a problem. You always go through them. I've got a '62 Dodge Dart that I bought out in Texas earlier this summer. Yeah, I'm getting ready to dig in on that. I'm going to put a 513 max wedge. I'm going to leave it alone. In fact, if you go to the Steve Max YouTube channel, you'll see about 7 videos getting it home, introducing the car. And as I continue, that will become a 4-door rubber burning machine that'll look like it does now, but have an engine and look like it'll be like sort of the a long lost max wedge 4-door. They made a handful of them.
I know.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little heartbreaker. I was in that car. I took 66 pounds worth of Texas dust, weeds, grass, bird shit, all kinds of stuff out of there. But when I was using my shop vac, I sucked half of the build sheet into the vacuum cleaner. It was under the driver's seat, the build sheet. I heard, and I sucked it in. I lost half the build sheet. I took the vacuum apart trying to find the remnants, but it was too late. But yeah, if you're ever vacuuming under a seat, assume the build sheet's there. And if you're lucky, it's not. But after I stepped in the build sheet, half of it. I made a bit.
What's the time frame on that build, Steve?
This winter, and the beauty is no body in pain. I'm going to weld floors in it for sure. But the idea is that, by spring it's running and driving, laying
Oh, nice.
reverse pattern, and yeah, and one thing I did I went to Burniston Auto Wrecking just up the road in Burniston, Mass, and I bought a 65 Belvedere B-body rear axle, 8 3/4. It doesn't have the nuts, the 2-piece axle stuff, and it's there in reserve just in case. Because the thing of it is, this car, it's a '62 Dodge Dart police car. It's got 11-inch drums front and rear, and 11-inch drums on the back of a B-body in '62 is kind of weird. It's cop stuff. But trouble is, it has the nut, the cotter pin, and if the pulling tool doesn't pull that drum off simply and easily, that axle's coming out. I'm going to put the 65 B-body, which is the same width, goes right in, and but it has 1-piece axles. The brand new 1-piece deals for 65 up. So that's ready to go. But yeah, I'll be doing videos on that stuff when the time comes.
Steve, I want to race you.
Yeah.
Listen, I have my Roadrunner sitting in the garage, that '68 Roadrunner, and it's got a 343 horse top end on it.
Yeah, dual quads and everything. The whole.
Yeah. So 62. Okay, I think I need to drag that thing out, blow the cobwebs off it. And I think you and I got to race these things in the spring.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. It'd be fun. You're gonna run on street tires, like.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, I'm good. The car has the optional 15x6 fleet wheels, which are kind of weird. They don't have normal hubcap. They take a cap that has
right.
And so they're part of this car's DNA, and they're staying. So there's
nice.
6 wide front and rear, and I'll have skinnies all the way around. I'll get some slicks when if I race it, whatever. But
I've got H70 15s on the back of that thing.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I imagine you'll probably end up on about the same.
If I could find some period high speed police tires, I'd be all over that. But yeah, good luck with that one. You know what I mean? They're going to be John.
Well, give trying to think of his name over at Coker. Yeah, what the hell is his name?
Well,
the Hot Rod Hoarder. He's got a channel called the Hot Rod Hoarder, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name. I did a video with him not too long ago.
Bunky, or he's got an unusual name. Yes. He has a gasser, a Corvette gasser.
No. Oh wait, maybe he might have picked up a Corvette gasser.
Tommy Bird.
Tommy Bird. Yes, Tommy Bird. Right. Yeah.
I mean, the thing of it is, as you know, high-speed police tires are a very specific creature, and belted ones, I don't know. Good luck with that one. Oh, yeah. Headlight alignment. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That's funny. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Will. $5. Steve, UT, do you know why the center grille on a 6970 Mercury Cyclone spoiler tilts back? Is it to access the camshaft?
Yeah, it has something to do. Yeah, in fact, the right now issue of Hemmings Muscle Machines has a 70 Cyclone custom inside of it, and there's a shot. Jeff Koch wrote it because Jeff Koch had one of those things, right?
Okay.
The shot, I think it has something to do with aiming headlights. I mean, it sounds goofy because the headlights on the outside, but it's funny. It's a plastic thing that flips right up like that. It has a hinge on it, goes up and down. It's a bolt in the middle. It's a strange thing. But Automobile Quarterly book, way back when that car was new, it said the moon. That's the place for me. They had a shot of that. It's a weird looking grill, but it does go up and down as a hinge on it.
I can't recall ever seeing that.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't want to run up and go, but it's in the other room. I have the magazine.
Okay.
I forget exactly what it is, but yeah, it's a strange thing, but yes, it's real. It's real. Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
It's 70-71, I think, are the 2 years that it does that. But anyway.
Edwin, great Steve. I just purchased a 63 Sport Fury and vacuumed under the front seat. Hope the build sheet is under the rear seat. Yeah.
Well, you'll see it. It'll be stuck in between the foam and the springs. You'll see it, the remnants of it if it's there. I assumed mine wasn't there. What do you know? There it was. Yeah, headlighted. Yeah, it's a headlighted Damon. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Drake Beckmark. Oh, I love those wheels. Those are the Motor City. What the hell are the name of those wheels, Steve?
What are the Spiders? Yeah,
Spiders.
Yeah, Jack Heckler. Oh, there. Yeah. I found one of those in a junkyard in Ontario, California. One, of course, one. You know what I mean? Drove me insane.
Crazy Wrench Garage. UTG and Steve, what do you guys know about the throttle and shift link adjustment on older Mopars to keep everything shifting all nice and like band adjustment?
Well, when I always go full manual bad body. I get rid of kick down junk. It's just what I do. I don't know. I'm goofy like that, but I take that out of there is what I do. But that's just me. You want to make sure, of course, that at wide open throttle, the rod's going all the way back. That's all.
Right.
But it can be a pain in the ass if you have a header. I just get rid of it. I go, full line pressure, manual valve body, reverse pattern, boom, boom, bang. That's just me, though.
All of those, the adjustment procedures, because they vary from year to year, from model to model. So all the band adjustments, all of that is very specific to the model. Like for instance, if you've got an inland, let's say you're talking about a 4-speed, you get an inland shifter and a Hurst shifter. They have different procedures on how to set all of that stuff up. You've got different versions of automatic shifters, column on the floor, blah 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 blah, and they all have different. So you really need to be specific on what car you're looking to do it with, and all of that information is online. There's no secrets, there's no mysteries or anything like that. You can find all of that.
And some of those, the band adjustment, you take the big lock nut off and you turn it 2 1/4 turns or 2 1/2 turns. If it's a police tranny, I mean, yeah, it's specific. It's interesting.
Doug Narden, he wants you to call your car the Fuzz Buster.
I like it. Yeah, I guess. The funny thing is, the fellow who owned it was a guy named Buster Snyder. Buster Snyder.
Oh, there you go.
Buster. I don't know. But then again, I don't like, if you give a thing a name, sometimes you get sick. You say, why'd I do that? At this point, I'm writing stuff for Dodge Garage about the car. I just call it Project Dart Police car. Police Dart is what I call it, because I don't know, Project Wingnut or whatever. Sometimes I go, why'd I do that? But I don't know. I was actually going to call it the REM charger, as in rapid eye movement, sleeper, 4-door RAM charger, sleeper RAM charger. Okay.
That's a little. Yeah. You got to reach for that.
Yeah, it's a reach. Never mind.
That you know what that just reminded me of, man. How many title and blurb sessions did you have to sit in on?
Yeah, right.
Cover lines. That was the flat spot on the wheel, man. You can fly through, it blast out a story, you know what I mean? And then it comes time to do titles and blurbs, and it's like, no.
We used to have cover planning sessions, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was insane, and we used to have there was a word called, remember Todd Westover, blue-haired Todd. Yeah, good guy. He's out in LA doing art and stuff, but whenever he'd do mock-ups, cover dummies they were called, right? And in fact, I've sold some of those on my my Instagram account. I kept all that stuff. I have tear sheets, all this weird stuff, but basically it's the cover of a hot rod, but with the word Feftin, F-E-F-T-A-N, Feftin. Todd would say, brand new Feftins. He put the word Feftin. So we have these covered dummies that had all the pictures, but it would say Feftin, Feftin, Feftin all over it. I kept that stuff, but anyway, but coming up with cover blurbs is a major thing, because they used to say there's one picture you have to get right in every magazine: the cover.
The cover.
Lives
a lot of time. People don't realize how much time goes into shooting a cover.
Yeah.
The right car, the right angle, the right lighting. Sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 photographers on a car for a day. And it's like, and then picking the shot, because you've got to narrow it down. You got 400 freaking shots of this car, and 50 of them are actually really good. And now you got to go from that. And it's like the little behind the scenes stuff, magazine stuff. It's like YouTube stuff. YouTube is like the same way. Like to pick
subliminals.
The thumbnail and the words and
title and description. Funny thing is, the reason why red Camaros are on the cover of every issue of Hot Rod, they sell. It's the craziest damn thing. Mopar Action could put a red Camaro on the cover and it would sell. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's a fact. And when the publisher smells that kind of money blood, that you're going to get red Camaros. That's going to tell you have to do that, and you have to choose your battles with the publisher. You say yes, whatever, cover, no problem, because otherwise, just stay away from inside a magazine.
Well, that's where I got into all of the headbutting with Joe Oldham.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he was right.
Yeah, it takes a team. I can be blind. I can be blind to my own. Sometimes I get all right, whatever, go.
Well, I mean, back in those days, I had the street racer mentality, and all to me, the things that interested me, the things I would want to read about or see on the cover, they don't sell magazines. So I would fight with him about this type of stuff. But even as I was fighting with him, I knew that I was wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You'll learn. You'll learn. Yeah.
Mr. Will, thank you again, sir. Steve, did you get bit by the old cop car bug? I love old cop cars. Purpose-built car that was never loved.
Yeah. Well, I've always appreciated them. And it's a fact that, the earliest high performance muscle car things were just police car parts. The Hemi Roadrunner, it has police suspension. It's not the other way around. Cop cars don't have Hemi suspensions. It's the other way around.
Right.
Oh, yeah, a four-door muscle car, cop car. And in fact, a lot of cop cars were two doors, freeway interceptors and stuff. And I mean, the SSP Mustangs, those are nuts. The 5-liter Mustang cop cars. That's cool. And IROCs and, Z28 cop mobiles. So yeah, cop cars are cool. I like them. Always have. And the good thing about a cop car is it's four doors. It's twice as hard to get your doors blown off.
Now you see, if you're a Mopar guy, okay, taxi package cars are actually more interesting than cop cars.
Yeah.
Because the taxi package cars, so the cop cars had regular muscle car parts, like interchange, like you said, with the Roadrunner, the suspension is the same as the cop cars are. But taxi package cars had their own unique floor pan,
Yeah.
right? That's unique to those cars. They have their own unique VIN. Police cars don't have a unique VIN, but taxi package cars do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cop cars do. Yeah. PK. But anyway, yeah.
What years was that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, mostly the PK stuff is found as you get into like 67 up, but the second digit will be a 9. Like, for instance, I'll just,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
And I'm no genius. I just know where to look for information. You know what I'm saying? And like, for instance, like 1960, let's go with 1960 Plymouth, right? This is kind of wacky. The second digit is the series, right? Fleet is a 0. Taxi is a 9, and police is taxi. 9 and police are the same thing, but fleet was its own thing. And of course, there's Belvedere Wagon 6, Fury Wagon 7. So it's the whole thing, and it changes from year to year. Unfortunately, like, this is backwards. I'm not dyslexic, but it feels it right here. But anyway,
I think that the break was like there's like 60 to 65 was one.
Yeah, they
one numbering, and then 65 to 68 was another, and then 69 and up is the one that most people are common with. Right.
And Ford was the best and simplest. As early as 49, Ford cop cars quickly identified. But
Steve, let's see if we can help Alan F-Stop Pictures here. Thank you for the super chat, Alan. I'm a photographer interested in automotive photography, especially street rods. Any advice on how to get into it professionally? I'm a car guy. I love Mopar.
Well, I would say the barriers to entry have never been lower than they are right now. Online magazines, websites, and make your own used to be, as you know, Tony. And I was always told, Gromer even said, well, Steve, your weakness is you don't shoot well. Because what it is, I can work a camera. I just couldn't describe what an f-stop was. I could take a good picture, but my problem was I couldn't describe what I was doing.
I'm the same way.
He held that against me, but
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I still don't know what an f-stop is, but I can get I just bracket like a madman. Used to, but now digital doesn't matter. But now the barrier to entry is nothing. So just remember, you're not going to get a lot of dough. Well, you might. Good photographers get some money.
I used to go through a whole roll of Tri-X just to get like one decent picture.
Yeah. Well, action sucked. I used to hate shooting action. My thing was tech. I was good with shooting tech. That's simple. Tripod, just bracket, and you're good.
So, Alan, here's the thing, man. There is no paying gig in the magazine world anymore because there really aren't magazines anymore. And the line of people ahead of you that already have experience, that already have the in the industry, just forget that, man. That's not going to happen. Photography is hard anymore because everything has gone to video, but you could still employ that artistic photographer's eye into video. You know what I mean? It's just this still picture is kind of a thing of the past. But if you want to shoot, let's say, street rods, and you want to get that artistic thing, you could just, what I mean? You're just walking around the car and you got the right scenery, the right lighting, the right background. You do a sunset, sunrise, right? You can create some beautiful things that will catch people's eye and get you views on something like YouTube or TikTok, all of these. But that's where you want to go. Forget about static photography. That really is a thing of the past. You can make a living doing what you love, but you have to do it in a medium that's viable in today's world.
Yeah, I would say maybe like shooting for ad agencies that do new car brochures, whether they're digital or otherwise. I mean, there's always going to be for professionally done images. Like the latest Lexus, whatever it is. Somebody has to
Right.
show it and like that. I would say one
But
thing I found is if you're willing to work for free, you'll go far. Intern with maybe an ad agency or something like that, and just learn the ropes and then make your connections. And I wouldn't waste too much time with it. Make sure you have a day gig. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, but it's also now freelancers. There's more opportunity for freelancers because nobody wants a staffer, but they have to pay for their insurance. They want to get you working and get you out of there. So freelancers, there's more work for that. But I don't know.
the problem is though doing the type of photography that he wants on the type of cars that he wants to do it on.
Right.
He likes street rods, he likes Mopars, and there's just not too many ad agencies that are.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Stevie, you're putting long rims on your car.
No,
they don't fit on a B body.
Yeah, they won't fit without cutting into the passenger side inner fender, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to put a cross ram on it. Yeah, it's reproduction A&A stuff.
Both sides. The carburetor actually occupies the space that the top of the shock absorber is.
Yeah, you got to cut a notch in it. It's ugly. Yeah.
You can't have the front shocks. You'd have to relook at the front shocks completely because the way those manifolds just come down and put the carburetors right where your shock absorber is. They only work on bolt-on wise. They only work on C bodies and D bodies. The full size cars. UT Steve, is there a cool concept experiment that you guys still think about one day getting around to doing, but life or other projects keep getting in the way?
Yeah, you want to go first?
No, you got it. I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, if I was Bill Gates, I would love to recreate 1965 Beeline Dragway, all the altered wheelbase cars. Let's make it 1966. The Bristol Spring Nationals, Thunder Valley. Like maybe I would love to build 15 altered wheelbase cars. The Brutus GTO, Don Gay's Infinity, some Nicholson cars, a good smattering of GM, Mopar, and Ford, camera-powered stuff only in the world of Ford, and then take that thing on the road just to show the world, how funny car drag racing and match racing used to be. That would be cool. I'd love to do. Yeah, so subscribe everyone, so I can afford to do that in 100 years, But that I'd love to do. But aside from that, I don't know. There's all kinds of cars I'd love to build, but I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, listen, man, you find the right gig in YouTube. I mean, there are people who make $5,000-6,000 a day off of this platform.
Hoovy's Garage, Tyler Hoover. I work with him at Barrett Jackson. He's doing very well.
They do extremely well. We're not. What I love? If you ever go to Social Blade.
I know of it. Yeah. You can see how you're doing or something, right?
The numbers are so off. It's not even funny.
Okay, so it's not really that good. All right.
No. If you went by the Social Blade stats, right? I would be eating ramen noodles, living in a tent.
Okay. All right. So they're pessimistic or optimistic?
Super low. Okay. Super low. They don't take it. They what they do is they go by the average CPM of YouTube, but the CPM changes from classification to classification. So let's just say, for instance, you do. Let's say you do a personal vlog. Okay, the CPM on that type of video is like $1. Okay, on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's say you do finance. The average CPM on that is going to be like $18 to $20. So different categories have different pay rates. And the one that we're in is automotive and transportation is the second highest pay in all of YouTube. Huh. So your rich YouTubers are there's only two types of rich YouTubers. There's the entertainment guys who have 30 million views, 20 million views, right? And then there's the car guys that have like 2 million views. And you get like 2 million views on a video, you're making like $6,000 a day off of, so it can be done. If anybody can do it, bro, you can.
Yeah, takes a team. I'm riding a unicycle right now.
Mopar Den, thank you, Mopar Den. Channel support for this live of two industry giants sharing their knowledge and experience with us. Industry giants, no.
No, I always say it's a circle. You know what I mean? Without people to to read or watch or listen. I'd be standing in my garage talking to myself. So I'm always thankful for watching, and I always try to do my best, but yeah, thanks Mopar Dan,
The thing that Steve and I have in common is that we're not journalists. We're not, even when I was a writer, I never considered myself to be a writer. And like I do YouTube, I don't consider myself to be a YouTuber. I'm just a car guy having fun with my cars. And Steve is the same way. So it's like, I don't think either of us really think of ourselves as in the quote industry. We're like on the fringe, just having fun with our shit, and lucky enough to get paid for it.
With me, cars came first. A lot of folks I work with at Hot Rod and stuff had their eye on the prize, being a publisher, which is not about cars, man. I didn't go there for that. So yeah, I'm fringe for sure on that one. It's about the cars, I mean, what else,
Well, I mean, to be honest, there aren't too many people like us in the industry, where it is the cars, and it's just like we happen to make a living off of doing this. You know what I mean? Most people, they consider themselves to be journalists or media first, car guys second. Like cars are a hobby.
And they plug into whatever beat they're assigned to, whether it's Capitol Hill or Detroit,
Right. Yeah. Let's see.
I like that Coronet, that green Coronet.
Which green Coronet?
Well, Mopar Dan, the picture we had up there, just a green Coronet. Mopar Dan.
Okay.
Nice car.
He's a good guy. He's always with us on these chats, and I'm sure. When are we going to do one on your channel, man?
Soon. Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
I need somebody to hold the camera and to start the camera. Till then.
But you're doing it right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
We could be doing this on your channel. Exactly what you're doing right now. We could be doing this on your channel.
We'll send Kathy over. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Somebody hit go because anyway. Soon. Learning to.
Well, okay. What we'll do is you can give at some point give Kathy your login information, and then she could log in from here on as you, and then we could. So this way you would get the time and the super chat and everything would go directly to you. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Let's see. Champagne. Hey Tony, watch out! Chris Como is starting a car channel. Who's Chris Como?
Cuomo, the New York guy? No, what?
Oh! That's the guy that got fired from. Yeah, please. Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, life is too short to. Let's see.
Cuomo? No, never. I don't know.
UT Steve, would you ever select a fan of your channel and have a project with them as a mentor virtually?
Well, I mean, younger people, when they ask me about anything automotive or the industry, I always take time to answer the question as honestly as I can,
I do the same thing.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm consuming. That's the only thing once a week or something like that. But as far as being a mentor and committing to it, I already have a job. That's the problem. It's not a lot of time for that kind of thing. But
I could tell you this. I will work with pretty much anybody as long as they're interested and they're serious about doing what it is they're going to do. And the Junkyard Jet guys are a perfect example. They impress me every day, every time. I mean, they really love this thing. They're really going for it. It's like I'm impressed and I'm proud of them, right? But you will lose me, and I will have nothing to do with you if you ever refer to yourself as a fan. As soon as you come to me and you say I'm a fan, right? Gone. I know I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Goodbye. If you approach me as just I'm Tony and you're who you are, and have you ever thought about doing this? Do you want to try to do that? Whatever it is, I'm all for it. But don't ever come to me and tell me that you're a fan, because you just lost me right there. Let's see. Grace. No. Where is that? What happened on pork chop? Mitchell Crank, any advice for a young but experienced mechanic?
Well, make sure you love what you do and keep doing it. I mean, I've worked on cars, and it can become monotonous But some people, it's never monotonous. And if that's the case, keep doing it. But get your own shop, hire other people to multiply your efforts. Working for somebody else is okay. But if you can open your own shop, try to do that. That's what I'd say.
Start in your house, right? Or whatever access you have, right? To whatever type of work area that you have, build a basic tool selection. But here's the thing, here's the big difference between Steve's era, my era, and your era, right? Back when we were younger, you were a mechanic, you worked on everything, right? You bring me a transmission, I gotta fix the transmission. You bring me you want to put a radio in your car, I put the radio in the car. It needs tune-up, it needs timing chain, it needs rear end rebuilt, whatever it happens to be, man. We did it all. That was the job, right? Today, you can't do that. Things have become so refined and so specialized, and so that, Mitchell, if I had to give you any one piece of advice, is to pick one aspect of the car and throw yourself 100% into it. Specialize on that one thing, and you will be the go-to guy. You want to be the guy that other shops send their stuff to. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, Mitchell. Become the variable timing guy. Become the variable timing guy. Become the guy who knows all of those systems inside out, upside down, backwards, has all of the diagnostic tools, or has all of the literature, it stays up on all of the changes from all of the manufacturers. Specialize in that one thing. And then let everybody around you know that that's your thing. You love that stuff. And next thing you know, bro, you will be covered with work. I know, because I've had that experience in the past, specializing in certain things along the way. So what sounded to be Steve, can you estimate how long it took Mopar to install a typical A-body headliner on the assembly line? Curious about the time required for vinyl tops and headliners.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I was just reading, it was 1992 or so, but it was the Lynch Road Build a Superbird review. And they were talking about how all Superbirds got black headliners inside that standardized and just have one thing. And it was special because they were different with the rear window area. And it made it sound like it took about a minute to install a headliner on the line, And I would bet, especially, A-body stuff, the later A-bodies, as we know, are foam, that one-piece thing that kind of slides in. I think like 72, 3, 4.
The headliners and everything are done before the windows are in the car. Yeah. And when they did the headliners, at the cloth headliners, there's, like I said, there's no windows in the car. Yeah, and the headliner is laid out with the bows already in it, so pre-assembly, and they would just put it in through the windshield and just lay it out. And when you do this every day, and you do 75 of them a day, it's like, what I mean? It takes you no time at all. Look, and it's in. The cardboard headliners, they literally just shove those in through the windshield on an angle, shove it through the windshield, popped up, and that was that.
And to that point, Chrysler learned on the F bodies of Blaris and Aspens, they had nothing but those perforated, preformed sort of foam headliner that slid right in, because it takes time. But there's a great book called Echoes of Norwood by a guy named Philip Boris, and it's all about the Norwood, Ohio Camaro line. And it's a great book, but they describe the Camaro headliners went in Camaro and Firebird, they went in a jiffy, but there was a guy in there with a heat gun who would very quickly, shrink and heat the areas that were wrinkled, but it was minutes, whereas one of us will do it. It'll take an afternoon because we take our time, But it was seconds, Yeah.
Arthur Fiddler, Tony, roll with the fan or subscriber label. They are people who love you and mean well. Give them a chance. Have you ever seen autograph lines for guys like Vice Grip, Firebird, or Finger? Yes, I have. And it's not that no, you got to understand something. If you consider yourself to be a fan, if you call yourself a fan, what you're doing is you're separating yourself from me. Okay? You're not approaching me as an equal, or you're not approaching me as somebody who we're gonna share. Okay? You're approaching me as somebody who's putting me on some sort of pedestal, and I don't want to be put on a pedestal. If I'm going to deal with you, you have to just see me as Tony. You can't see me as anything other than Tony, right? Because then we can never relate. We can never be friends. We can never bond. Does that make any sense? And that's why I avoid the fan label. I don't like the fan label. Subscriber is completely different. I mean, I'm a subscriber of this, that, and the other thing. So, but that's why I avoid the fan label, because as soon as you call yourself a fan, you're putting me on a pedestal, and I don't want to be on a pedestal. I'm Tony, and I just want to go screw around with cars. And it was why I got out of the magazine business. I was extremely successful in the magazine business. but I hated it because I couldn't go anywhere and just be me. I couldn't just go to the freaking track and screw around with my car. It had to be like an event, a thing, you know what I mean? And I hated that. I just wanted to go have fun with my cars. And I kind of still feel the same way today. I haven't changed that much, you know. And I've seen the autograph lines. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what you'll never see me on? The end of an autograph line, because I don't do autographs. I don't do personal appearances. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing. Jupiter Mustang Mike was a fan of Marsha Brady. We all were fans of Marsha Brady. She was
Marsha. Right.
Yeah. Trash Metal wants to play some punk guitar.
There you go. Buzzcocks.
Excellent advice. I was in the automotive trade for about 35 years, retired now, worked on cars from the age of 12.
Yeah. It'll beat you up. You know, I know friends of mine, their feet are wrecked and their backs are wrecked from standing under Jeeps for 30 years, you know, and, you know, it takes a toll. Make sure you love it. I'll leave it like that.
What's Steve's favorite muscle car?
Ooh, that changes every 3 seconds. But this minute, I would say a 66 Plymouth or Dodge two-door post 4-speed street Hemi. You know, not a Billboard 71 Cuda, a street Hemi or an A990, a nice clean, or not aluminum 64 sedan, max wedge, or race Hemi. I mean, but less is more with me. It's not going to be a Ram Air 4 GTO, you know, with power windows, and I want a stripper. I want a Ram Air GTO with a 4-speed, 433 gears, and manual steering, manual brakes, and radio delete, and heater delete if I get it, you know. But yeah, for me, probably a street Hemi or a race Hemi, a pure original factory car with Steelies, you know, they're correct. Well, the torque thrust on the front of 64s, you know. But yeah, that's this minute. You know, but a new Demon, there's nothing wrong with that. A Challenger SRT red eye wide body. Wow, what a car that is!
You're just saying that because Direct Connection is paying you to say that.
Oh, they're awesome. I mean, they're freaking. I don't know, man. The rear axle, they have a 9.1 inch ring gear. There's no dinky crap in those things. It's almost as big as a Dana. This stuff's real.
I know. I've seen underneath them.
You know, yeah. You know, forged rods. I mean, it's holy shit. You know. 770 horsepower, like what? And that's net. That's real, like, you know.
I'm with Steve about the 66. It has to be a 66, yeah. Two-door sedan, Hemi. Only I would want mine automatic. You know, obviously on the column. For some reason, I always street Hemis and automatics go together. Street Hemis and 4-speeds not so much. I don't know what that is.
I like a Dana. You know, I know it's true. The Chrysler 4-speed tranny it's you've got to be very deliberate. They're not easy to shift. My shoulder's kind of screwed up, to be honest. I don't know if I could redo one of those every single day if I be in a hospital or something. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, I like those cars, but I don't like them enough to go out and get one. Like, I don't want to be a caretaker. Does that make any sense? Like, it was like the Hemi GTX that we just did. It was a great car. I love the car, but I don't want to be the caretaker of it. I don't want, you know what I mean? It's like I would rather it belong to somebody else, and I'll screw around with it. You know what I mean? And then make it go away, and then bring the next one.
Well, you know, with this 62 Dart police car, I'm doing no body work, no paint, nothing. It's going to stay. It's scruffy. You rub against the white paint, it comes off on your hand, and the roof is all rusted. So I'm just going to blow some flat. I don't want to deal. Yeah, you either own your car or car owns you. I own my shit. You know what I mean? Shiny stuff. I just no. But anyway.
Okay, well, we got to get this in here from John Wilburn. Everyone who hasn't already, please, excuse me, please send in your rides for the car show on my channel, John PrincetonDragway.com. John at PrincetonDragway.com. Winner gets a great prize. So if you don't know, John is having a virtual car show on his channel. Uncle Kathy is one of the judges. And yeah, if send a picture of your car, and John will give you this amazing prize, like a ridiculous prize. It's like something that nobody else is, it's unattainable. Any place else on earth. I have no idea what it is. But yeah, send pictures of your car. Steve, send pictures of your car to John Wilburn at PrincetonDragway.com. And let's get that thing populated. Let's see Uncle Kathy pick a winner.
Uncle Kathy, I like that. Like Aunt Ed.
Arthur Fiedler again. Patty Duke said she was Patty Duke, man, she was cute.
She was cute. Yeah, she was cute. Yeah.
Said she was embarrassed that people loved her in the Patty Duke show, but later said she decided to roll with it since it meant something to them, if not her. It's being an actress is different than doing what we do, right? That's their job is to be an actress. Or does that make any sense? Where my job is kind of like to do things and then bring. I can't explain it to you. It's different. It's just different.
I like the name Auteur, like Arthur Fiedler, the Boston Pops conductor. It's an interesting play on words. Auteur Fiedler, anyway, Arthur. Anyway.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for the recognition. You can't not be grateful for the recognition, but like I said, it's an alienating thing. You know what I mean? When you consider yourself a fan, you've just alienated me. I'm a person. I'm not an object or anything like that. I'm literally sitting here in my chair, the same way you're sitting there at your freaking chair. We just have different jobs, is all it is. And this is my job. This is what I do for a living. This is what Steve does for a living, and you do whatever you do for a living. And to me, in my mind, and I know this is going to sound crazy, right? But to me, in my mind, this is no different a job than when I had my restaurant, with coffee houses, or and I make coffee, I roast coffee. This is the same thing. And when I had my shops and I work on cars, this is the same thing. It's just a job that I do, and I want to keep it that way.
Do you still have a coffee house, Tony? Do you still have that?
No, but I want another one. As soon as the economic collapse has blown through, you know what I mean? After we get through with the hyperinflation and all the craziness, I'm definitely going to open another coffee house.
Are you going to? Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
Were they automotive themed?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Anybody know who you are? You ever get that at all when you were doing that? Anybody come in with a copy of high performance cars or anything?
No. We opened the first one in New York on Staten Island in 2001. And it was immediately after September 11th. As we were setting the place up, you could smell the fire because the fires were still burning at the Trade Center. And you could actually smell the fire. As we were setting it up, the funeral processions were constantly going past our place. Because we lost a lot of people from Staten Island, 343 firemen, and like added up like 200 of them were Staten Islanders. So there was always a funeral procession going past the place as we were working on it. But that lasted for 2 years until I decided to move to Tennessee. Then we got here to Tennessee. I opened one on Memorial. That lasted for 2 years. What happens is I get tired of these things. It's like I like setting them up. I like getting them going. And then as soon as they're kind of like autopilot, I lose interest. I close it and I move on to the next one. And so we had one in New York, and I had 4 of them here in Tennessee. We closed the last one about 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago now.
Now, for at the same time or successively?
No, successfully.
Yeah.
Successfully. They were all called The Grind.
Okay, the grind. Off the grind.
The grind, just the grind.
Yeah.
And as we progressed, we became more music centric, to where at the end we were like a really more of a music venue than anything else. Because it was
nighttime only or all day? Would you do breakfast or?
Oh no, we were night business. We would open up at 6 o'clock at night and close at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Okay, I see.
So see, a coffee shop, a place that you go like in the morning, you're gonna get your bacon and egg and that's a coffee shop. A coffee house is a bar for people who don't drink.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of drunks, you go to a coffee house. It has a whole different vibe, a whole different atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a coffee house and a coffee shop. And we had coffee houses.
Yeah. Beat poets and stuff like that, right?
We had a lot of that stuff. We had a group of old ladies came in. When I say old, like they were probably in their 50s or 60s, about my age now. This is 20 something years ago. They came in and they wanted to do a poetry reading at the place, and I was like, look around at this crowd. I says, do you think these people are going to want to listen to poetry? So she says, well, what should we do? And one of the regulars was like, why don't you do some Henry Rollins? So so they did. They went and they studied all this Henry Rollins shit, and they came back like a month later and like, can we do our poetry reading? I said, knock yourselves out, ladies. And they got up and they all read Henry Rollins stuff.
Family Man with a life all planned, right? Yeah.
It was epic. It was awesome. It was awesome. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that would happen there. That's the kind of business that it was.
I saw Black Flag back in 1986 in Worcester. Henry Rollins, Black Flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hank. He did spoken word stuff too, I think. But did he ever come by your place, or did you ever have any? Did you attract national acts, or was it local or?
Uh, National acts. We had Tony Danza's Tap Dance Extravaganza.
Really, Tony Danza was there?
Yeah, this was with the place on Memorial. No, not the actor Tony Danza. There's a band called Tony Danza's Tap Dance Extravaganza.
Yeah.
No real national acts. Andrew Jackson Jihad we had booked, and something came up and they couldn't make it. But we had a lot of local punk and indie type of things, and it was fun. It was just fun. I made my money during the day with cars.
Okay.
So my day business paid all my bills.
Yeah.
And then my night business was the coffee house. Let's see. Coffee and Entenmann's. Yeah, we had a lot of Entenmann's.
Yeah, the double chocolate cake. Oh.
We had, okay, so menu items, right? We had goo cakes. I had people used to drive from Nashville for our goo cakes. What we would do, you ever make a pancake?
Sure.
You ever make a pancake? Okay, you make a pancake and it starts to bubble on the one side and you flip it over and it cooks on that side. Okay, a goo cake is where you take the two pancakes and when they start to bubble on the top, you flip one on top of the other. So it's cooked on the outside, it's raw on the inside.
Oh, so a goo cake.
Goo cakes.
I like it.
We sold, I can't tell you how many goo cakes. And then we had raw chocolate chip cookie dough brownies.
Yeah.
But we would make brownies ourselves and we'd freeze the cookie dough, drop it into the brownie as it was cooking. And it ended up with a brownie that was loaded with raw chocolate chip cookie. We sold them.
I never got
it.
They say you can get salmonella. I never had that. I'm not
I never had that.
Saying do it, but I used to do it. I'm still here. But it was so good. Oh, so good. But there was, if it sat overnight, the end would get kind of hard. You'd slice it off. If you were hardcore, you eat the end, but it was kind of gross. If it sit overnight on the bedstead.
We had a lot of fun with that stuff, man. You would have fit right in. You would have fit right in. Let's see. Sounds like pothead food. We had a lot of potheads. We had a lot of people. It wasn't my business what people did. You know what I'm saying? They did whatever they were going to do. I'm not the cops. What's this? Mr. Will jumps in there a lot. Mr. Will's a very active guy. Tony, if Big Chief asked you to help with the nitro on his car and be on his show, would you do it? No. Don't get me wrong. I like that guy. He's one of my favorite characters in the whole thing. But do I want to work? No, I don't want to know. No. Pentastar says he hung out with Henry Rollins back in 1988 one night. Was cool. Went to the local punk spots.
That's cool. Yeah. I saw the Butthole Surfers at the Living Room in Providence, Rhode Island in 1980.
That was a good band.
Yeah, Giddy Haynes and weird, but yeah, good music.
Let's see. Who would have gotten beat up?
Wow. He would have, me probably, yeah.
No.
I don't know about the coffee shop. But at a Henry Rollins show, I was not big on like slam dancing. I was like, nah. Well, earlier it wasn't that bad.
Colleen Tabo wants to know if you have an email.
Yeah. HemiMagneto@AOL.com. Yeah, it's jam full. I try to read what I can, but HemiMagneto@AOL.com. Like the 71 Super B, that's cool. Is that an RT?
Edwin Case, Tony, the 63 Sport Fury had two different heads on it. I don't know which 63 Sport Fury you're talking about. Also, the engine was not original. Best stock head to use on the 413. Well, Max Wedge, if you can find one.
Yeah, if you can find it. Yeah.
Well, the 67 440 is probably your best, the closest thing you're going to find to that.
Yeah, small chamber.
Yeah. Small chamber with a big exhaust valve.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, seriously, right? Port the intakes a little bit higher, right? Well, close the exhaust crossover. And honestly, there's not much difference between a 67 440 head and a Max Wedge head.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember one time Tom Hoover describing that he was disappointed in the difference between a Max Wedge head and a standard Magnum had. He said the Max Wedge stuff isn't that much better. 20% larger to look at it, but he said it
Right.
really wasn't that much better. Interesting. Yeah. It still looked good, but no heat crossover. War. Oh man.
Or
Yeah.
somebody, oh God, I think it was Katie. She pops in here once in a while. Katie Best was one of the girls who used to hang out at my places, and she was friends with somebody from Guar, and I think that they were going to try to set something up, but that never happened either.
At Hot Rod Magazine, when I first got there in 1997, there was a guy named John Pecorelli. He was the copy editor, and there's a gal named Slimenstra Hyman, and she's one of the gals in War, and he was her friend. But I remember Slimenstra Hyman. That's her name. She's an actress, but anyway, yeah, War, wacky band, wacky, kind of like Kiss meets I don't know what. Anyway, yeah, Slimenstra, great name.
Tony, do another video like you did with the guy with the cutlass. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, bro. We've done a couple of cutlasses. Abel D, he throws a lot of stuff out there. Do you guys think the future survival of humanity is we'll come back to analog tech?
Yeah, I think computers are here to stay. They're good in a lot of ways, I do worry at times if there was ever, sunspots or, computers are vulnerable to EMPs, electromagnetic pulses, you know what I mean? Because, it is true that if there was a major crash of electronics, they see transformers. If all transformers blew, there's weapons, cyber weapons that could cause that. And that could be a major. So we're definitely leaning heavily on something that could really bite us. So if that ever happened, the analog might be a good patch. But we go back to electronics real quick, I think, because think about the mountains of papers that insurance companies used to have and file. Now it's all electronic. So we never go back. Maybe as a band-aid after an EMP pulse or some kind of a electronic war or whatever, electronic terrorism. Yeah, or I hate to think that kind of stuff, but that's a vulnerability for sure, but I think we're here to stay.
Yeah, electronic. You can't unlearn. You know what I mean? Like you can't go back. Like once you've had color TV, you can't go back to black and white TV. Once you've had a spontaneous medium like YouTube, you can't go back to something that's packaged and sent out once a month, right? It just doesn't work anymore. You can't, and you can't unlearn technology. But now, where we're at right now is pretty significant time in history because there's two paths we can go. There's the one sect, the globalist sect, that is actually pushing towards transhumanism, where now they're going to start melding our electronics with the electronics of the devices that we use. And then you've got the other side, which is like the autonomous human thing, which is like that's the anti-globalist, So we're at a crossroads, and it can go either way, But the thing is, we'll all be dead before that next phase of evolution happens. So it's kind of just sit back as a spectator at this point and see which way the chips fall.
I'm a little bit. Sometimes you hear about the next generation of space weapons, and weapons that explode in space and create shrapnel that then is there forever, but it destroys communication satellites as an act of war. Like, oh no!
Right. That's called what is that called? There's actually a name for that strategy.
Yeah. So I guess you have to create a space garbage truck, like a sweeper, an NHOA sweeper that goes up there. But that's a vulnerability that's hopefully it never comes to pass. Put it like that, because the internet will go away. Because this signal right now is going up to a satellite and coming back down. And, but yeah.
Mitten Made Muscle says. Mitten Made Muscle says, doesn't matter what's going to happen. Yeah. We can't stop it and can't control it. Yeah. You're wrong. We actually collectively have the power to steer it in any direction we collectively want to. The problem is apathy. People have had it too easy for too long, and they're just too used to things being comfortable and smooth. And so apathy is our downfall, if there's going to be a downfall. But I think over the next year or two, things are going to become so incredibly unorthodox and incredibly uncomfortable that I think the masses will impose their will on the few that control us. That's how I see things happening. Um, let's see. Back to car stuff. Kelly's Cars. Is it just pure coincidence the 6300F got the Pontamusun 4-speed and the Facel Vega Facela got a powertrain from them as well? I can't help but think the Facel Vega was the reason for those 300Fs.
Yeah. Interesting point. Well, it was a French transmission born from trucks, medium trucks, and the ratios aren't great. That's the problem with the Pontamusun. It's also large, but yeah, it was an option in 60 Chrysler 300s, and yeah, Facel Vegas, the Pontamusun.
Yeah, I've never actually. I mean, I know of them, but I've never actually seen one.
Yeah, I have a picture. I'd have to get up and run, but it's an odd-looking creature. It kind of looks like a T5, to be honest. It's tall and square, and aluminum has ribs on it and stuff. It kind of looks like a T5, kind of weird, bigger. But stick comes out the top. It's not off the side. It's a rail type tranny, but it grew out of trucks, French trucks, and as a function, yeah, it's a heavy monster. But yeah, it's tougher than a T10. And Chrysler, in their wisdom, did not want to put a T10 behind a raised deck wedge because it would blow up. Whereas Chevy 409s, well, T10s were replaced a lot of the time behind them. But GM thought it was okay. But
Well, Chrysler used the BorgWarner 3-speed behind the Max Wedge cars.
Yeah, the T85s. Yeah,
T85s, which was a beefier transmission than the T10.
Yeah, grew out of Packard, I think, in 1937. A Packard. Yeah, it was the T85, the first original. I mean, there's mutations thereof, but yeah, T85.
Let's see.
And what is? I don't speak French, but Pontamusun. What does that translate to? Does anybody know? River of something? Pontamusun? I don't know.
Hard to find transmission.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Lump of turd. No, I know. There was actually at Barrett Jackson, there was a 4-speed Chrysler 300F. It was probably a built car, but it was radio delete. It may have been one of the cars that Chrysler used at the Speed Weeks in 60, but it was kind of unknown, but it was a 4-speed. I didn't get under it, but man, I wanted to go underneath. It had a weird shift ball. It's like this sort of wedge, like a 280Z shift knob, if you know what that looks like. It was kind of strange. Anyway.
Dripping List, this is a good question. Are you guys tired of all the numbers matching factory correct bullshit?
It has its place. I'll leave it like that. It has its place. I wouldn't disassemble a car that was all air, but I don't have the gene. I don't care about numbers matching carburetors. And I would never create a numbers matching scenario. If it's not there to begin with, I would not try to replicate it. I don't care. But, it's okay, to each their own.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like I want to care about that stuff, but it's just not in me. I just don't care. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. I appreciate the people who do care, and I'm grateful for the people who care enough to preserve that history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wedge car with 3705 essays, the choke kit still in it. It's cool when you see that, and somebody takes them up with Zettel blocks. No, but yeah, it's cool.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because we were talking about we did that Hemi GTX. And he had two pairs of street Hemi carburetors, and they're a pain in the ass to get an adjustment on because it's got that air valve, it doesn't have a throttle stop.
66, 67. What year was the car? 67.
67, right?
Yeah, get the thing in the front. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, listen, just pick up a pair of freaking Edelbrocks and let's throw them on here and take your Hemi carburetors, and when you're going to sell the car, put them on the car. Let's just make this easy so this way, And it's like, no. I want it to be just exactly that way. And so he did the whole car that way, and I respect what he did. Like he went out and found new old stock points. He went out and found new old stock spark plugs. Everything he found was new old stock points, to keep it exactly the way he wanted it to be. I appreciated it, but I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah. Do you know who Scott Harms is? Harms Restoration.
Sure.
He'll take an AFB. He'll take an Edelbrock and turn it into an AFB lookalike. He's good with that stuff. So you have your cake and eat it too. Yeah, Harms Restorations. He's good. Yeah, Scott Harms. Yeah. That's how to get a cheater carb. Actually, a 750 AFB that looks like a 625. You can do that too. You know what I mean? Yeah, with the small air horn.
Let's see. Autolite carbs for life. They're well, the original ones were a little right, but Summit, the carburetor at Summit, so it went from Autolite to Holley to Summit.
Wow. Okay.
And those carburetors are, I have you used one yet?
I haven't. They're leak proof. I just remember them being like factory 302 4-barrel stuff, J-code motors and whatnot. Just They don't have a buzz to them, but I'm sure they function. And there's no leaks because it's a big old bowl. There's no gasket down low. But you know,
Well, I did a back to back, okay, on a 15-second car, okay? I did a back to back on a 15-second car between a 600 Edelbrock and the 650 Summit.
okay.
Both carburetors exactly out of the box. No changes, no nothing, right? 0.4 of a second.
What was wrong with the AFB, the Edelbrock? I mean, it's really
Nothing.
Nothing.
It
seems
There's
like
a 0.4 difference.
Huh.
The Summit hit that much better down low, you know, in the first 60 foot or so.
Is there more of an accelerator pump on the Summit carburetor? I don't know. They have like this vertical thing on the front, right?
That's the original Autolite version. When Holley bought it in the 80s, they added a traditional Holley accelerator pump.
Okay.
So it's the Autolite body with Holley bolts.
I get that. Yeah, the accelerator pumps, that's one of the weaknesses of an AFB or an Edelbrock is, you know, you can mess with the pump stroke, but there's not much more. Where you can definitely get some accelerator pump out of, okay. Yeah,
Well, both of these carburetors were just out of the box, just like exactly stock carburetors. And it blew my mind. And I even went back and said, no, that's not possible. And I put the Edelbrock back on it, and nope, same thing. It was a 4/10, almost 4/10. It was like 3 3/4.
Wow.
But rather, it was a 4/10 difference between those two carburetors.
Wow.
Let's see.
But here's a picture right here of just a nifty. That's a neat.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that cool? Somebody's weekend beast, you know, 4-speed car, plastic doors, plastic fenders, plastic hood, plastic bumper. You know, I love to see there's no vent windows on the doors. That's plastic stuff. Got probably a 9, you know, Dana and the 4-speed and the slicks on the back. The front tires to me are a little wide, but that's perfection right there.
And it's got a 4 teardrop scoop on it.
Yeah, the Thunderbolt bliss is a little weird. I put a 65 race Hemi on it, but yeah, that's a picture from 1967 right there. Anyway.
Steve, you're a Slant 6 guy too. Can you guys comment on the Weber Slant 6 video from Australia? What an awesome engine build. Did you see that?
I did not see it, but I know there's certainly lots of Slant 6 love in Australia. The Webers are cool, but trouble with those, I mean, well, I won't say trouble, but the tuning issues, you know, I'm sure they're, if you get your head around them, they're fine. But yeah, they look great, beautiful looking stuff.
He made like 290 horsepower with the thing.
Wow. On a 225?
On a 225. He made like 289. It was close to it. But if you watch the video, there's this huge amount of reversion that's happening. Crazy. You know, where you can see it's given up a bunch. You know what I mean? It's just, but I mean, you can't knock it. The guy made like serious freaking horsepower from normally aspirated slant. Let's see. We're coming up on the 2 hour. Steve, do you believe it's almost 2 hours?
Okay, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
It always flies. Whenever we get together, these are my favorite shows. I love you. You're fucking awesome. Let's see. Mopar guys are geeks. Yes, we are. Let's see.
You know what Mopar stands for, don't you?
My old pig ain't running.
That's exactly. Yeah, either that or massively overpowered or respected. Yeah, my old pig ain't running. Yeah.
Danny Boy, does anybody make a stroker crank for a 225? It's got too much stroke to begin with. It's got way too much stroke to begin with.
I hear you can do something with a 198 rod, or Doug Dutra's the guy to talk to about that one. I think 198 rods or some turbo 2.2 pistons, and you can go like 240 or something like that. But still, you got this freaking thing that's like
waste of time. The geometrically speaking, the best combination for a Slant 6
170,
198 crank and a 170 block.
Okay.
You go 60 on that, you end up with 210 cubic inches.
Okay.
And geometrically, that's your optimum combination. I haven't built one. The next engine that I built for Plan Z is going to be based on the 170. But for right now, I got to put this one back together again and try to achieve my goals.
I built a fair number of slant sixes, 225s, and I haven't really pushed them hard. But going over 5,200 RPM is tough. They don't rev. The 170s, I understand, can go to 65, but the 225, going to 6 with one of those things, you have to have a crazy head.
Well, if you read the papers that were written by the engineers that designed the 170, they talk about having these engines set up on the run stands and screaming at 7,000 RPM for like days on end, just fire it up and like let it rip, and they would just go and go and go and go. And when they had to, because the motor was originally designed around that 170 size, right. And then when they wanted the larger cubic inch for the light trucks and the bigger cars, they had all kinds of issues that came up with that. And I see, oh God, see, once you start talking about this stuff, right? So years ago, I read all of these papers. I read everything I could read about the development of slant six, and they talked a lot about how when they went to the 225 size, all of a sudden the engine started using oil, and they couldn't figure out why it was using oil. So they ended up doing something with the rings, and I forgot what it was with the rings, but they had to reconfigure the ring pack and the placement and so on and so forth, and it stopped. And I could never understand what would the difference be. Why would adding that stroke all of a sudden make this thing want to use oil?
C bodies and trucks. Well, go ahead.
Well, it's because of the oil pan design. See, okay, the motor, right? The way it's designed to sit in the K-frame, the motor is very shallow. The oil pan is very shallow. On a 225, the connecting rods at the bottom of the stroke come within 1/4 of an inch of the bottom of the pan, and so the 225 has got a huge windage problem using a regular stock sump pan. If you go to 170, the 170 is 3/4 of an inch from the bottom, and that's enough space so that the oil that's laying in the pan doesn't get scooped up and ripped back into the mix. But on the 225, that oil that's on the bottom gets caught in the actual windage and sucked back up into the crankshaft. And that was they never talked about that, and I could never figure out why it was until I started working on the slant that I've got now. And then I realized, oh, here's why this thing's using oil, right? Well, we have a tendency to use oil. It's really a bad design.
Well, in a perfect world, the 225 would have had its own head, but the same head with the same ports and valves was used on designed for the 170 and then adapted to the 225.
Yeah.
And the extra deck height, that was about putting them in trucks. Initially, it was just for the Valiant, but then when they wanted to put it in full size C bodies, they needed torque, so they added the inch of stroke. That whole routine. And the same head though. They should have had a different head, but
they would have been ahead by leaving the slant six at the 170 size and leaving it in the lightweight A bodies, and then doing an overhead valve on the floating power motor, which they already had a better bore stroke relationship. It was already established, so all they had to do was just beef the oiling system, add overhead valves to it, and they would have the perfect truck in full size, but they made the decisions that they made.
Yeah, the Australian 6 was actually designed in Detroit for America, and it was shuffled off to Australia.
That's right. That's right.
It's really a Hemi. A lot of those guys, it's not a Hemi, folks. It has slight kick to the valves, but that was one of the first times when Chrysler utilized its own Hemi legacy on something that was a little less. Remember the Hemi 2.6 with those Hemi emblems and stuff?
Right.
It was Hemi, but kind of. But the Australian Hemi, it's a great engine, but it's barely a Hemi. It's a slight polysphere is what it is. The valves just get about that much, but so be it. The Hemi 265 and all that.
Here's one that you know a lot about. Steve, which slant six had aluminum block? What year? It was vehicle specific.
It was 61 and 2 A bodies. Some say 63. I've never seen one, but 61 and 2. There are about 55,000 of them made. I've owned 5 of them in my life. I've had 2 that actually ran and were worth building. They're good. And the idea behind it was, and the slant six, if you read Willem Workman's SAE white paper, the slant six was initially meant to be made in aluminum, die-cast aluminum. They had a lot of scrappage problems. So they did 55,000 blocks, and they decided, and the iron was a backup plan. And turned out that the backup plan was needed. But yeah, there were 61 and 2, and I believe it's an 08 in the VIN. There's a little tag. It says, it's B an 8 under the A or something like that. But I've had two Valiant Lancer type vehicles with aluminum engines in them, and it's a good engine. The only downside is that they have freestanding cylinder bores, and the integrally cast iron cylinder liner. That's not a problem, but the aluminum around it goes away, and there's nothing to pinch the bead of the head gasket. You get a head gasket.
Right. It's an open deck. It's not like a regular 225 block. It's an open deck, and you use this special head gasket.
That's right. It's copper. It's a weird piece, but the trouble is that the aluminum cast around the iron liner goes away with corrosion, and you get a thin little thing to pinch that bead. It's not good.
The ones that I've seen have all had electrolysis etching.
Yep, exactly.
At the top of the, which is one of the reasons I just avoided them.
I found two that were good, but they're so rare. They're so rare to find good usable ones. And you can't really spray weld the material. Nobody's really figured out what to do to repair that. But Doug Dutry used to fill them up with concrete, flip them upside down and stuff. You could buy some time that way, but yeah, I don't know.
You need a cross flow stage 5 Hemi conversion heads and a cross flow Sense 6 heads. The problem with the cross flow Sense 6 head is that you have to go overhead cam. It's impossible to use the cam in the block and have a cross flow head.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. At that point, you've got nothing left to the Slant 6 except the basic block itself.
And all 30 that you'll sell. That's the problem with that.
Right.
Maybe 300, frankly, between now and the end of a decade from now. That's the trouble. It's not a small block Chevy. The market, there's billions of Slant 6s out there, but
Salmonella. He writes for Mopar Action occasionally, doesn't he? That's one of Cliff Gromer's names.
Okay, right.
The Brunt brothers.
Right. Huh. I was talking salmonella on the chocolate chip cookie dough. I think it was throwback. I get it.
Okay, let's see. Why did the Chevy Vega fail since we're talking about aluminum? Same exact reason. The Chevy block, the aluminum 4-cylinder block was exactly the same construction as the 225 aluminum block and had exactly the same problems where it would etch. And there was they used a high silicone liner.
That's right. There was no iron. It was actually silicone, right?
Right, to try to get around the electrolysis. But the electrolysis happened anyway, even without the cast iron, because the electrolysis happens when the antifreeze starts to break down, it creates an acid. The acid acts. You got three metals there. You got stainless steel in a head gasket, aluminum, and cast iron. And the reaction of the acid with those three materials causes electrolysis, which eats the aluminum, and that's where you get the head gasket failures with those things. But to try to get around the electrolysis, they used a high silicone liner in the
spray on. Yeah, it was
right.
Well, Porsche did it with their 928 just a couple years later, and they pulled it off. But yeah, it's I don't know.
It was a science that needed to be tweaked.
Yeah, it wasn't a drive time. Yeah,
it was a good idea. It was a good idea.
Great looking car.
I just saw a video recently, Steve, about a Cosworth Vega that had like 12 miles on it. Huh. Did you see this thing?
I haven't seen that, but I know the cars. They're pretty cool, And the one thing people don't realize, Cosworth Vega is actually, while the standard Vega had a 4-link type rear suspension, Cosworth actually had a torque arm that went from the tranny to the rear axle, only on Cosworths, and then adapted into the Monza and then into Vegas. But the Cosworth had its own rear suspension, which is pretty kinky,
The Cosworth also had a multi-port fuel injection.
Yeah, electronic. Yeah.
Right. Way before the CCC system in '81. So this is all like very primitive, like high tech stuff. The Cosworth was very.
And the weird thing about the Cosworth was, the standard Vega had a 2300. The Cosworth was a 2000. It was a smaller engine, and it was emasculated by emissions. And in the end, it made, I think, another 20 horse maybe than the 2.3. It was smaller. It was a sad, it was a great idea, but twin cam, 4-valve, crazy, but still, stainless steel.
Did you see Leno's '67 Sprint?
It's in the latest issue of Hemmings Muscle Machines right now. Actually,
what a gorgeous car that thing is!
It's pretty, and it's got the 4-barrel on the Pontiac overhead cam. I did a story for Hemmings on that engine. Those are pretty interesting engines. that engine had a quadrajet on it. A quadrajet on a 230 cube six banger, kind of cool. Oh, Tim, yeah.
I may or may not have been Tim.
Yeah.
I may or may not have been Tim.
Did you guys take turns with that, or were you always him, or was it a different?
No, nobody else wanted to touch that. It was just I told you what happened with that, right? Did I tell you the story behind that?
The salesman came and left his card. You guys put a mustache on it and used it as a thing? Or?
It was Joe Oldham's fault. Joe Oldham insisted that so I was the tech editor for all of the, so you guys, Steve knows this stuff. If you guys who don't know, I was the technical editor for CSK Publishing. That was my official title. So I was the technical editor for muscle car, Pontiac, high performance muscle car, Pontiac, Vet, Cars Illustrated. Oh God, I don't know. We did so many freaking magazines back then, but I was the technical editor for all of them. So Oldham felt that we had to have a technical question and answer page in Cars Illustrated. And here's the truth about this stuff. Nobody ever actually writes technical questions today. It just doesn't happen. They're made up, and then the answers are made up. And I hated the whole idea of it, but they insisted that they had it. So I got really fucked up one night at Morgan Smith, who was the art director. We got boxed one night at his place, and I had to do the Tim thing. I had to do the tech column first thing in the morning, and that's where Tim came from. I went to the office. It was like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. I was like, okay, I got to blow this thing out and get it out of the way, and I banged out what became Tim, and the rest is history. Yes. High performance Mopar. I myself take 100% responsibility for putting the first issue of High Performance Mopar out. I fought hard for that. You have no idea. Everybody in the food chain was against doing that magazine.
Wow, yeah. Too niche. They say it was too niche. Is that what it was? It was too out of the mainstream. Is that what their complaint was?
Well, here's the thing. See, today Mopar is a household name.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Mopar. You know Mopar, and it's just, but if you go back to 1985,
you're an underdog.
Only insiders used the term Mopar.
Oh. So they wanted to call it something else? Like Dodge?
They didn't want to do anything with it.
Yeah, right.
They didn't want to do anything with it. Hardcore car guys called them Mopars, but everybody else just called them a Dodge or a Plymouth, or but that it didn't have the household name status that it has today. It was like deemed to be too obscure, and that there wasn't an Oldham hated Mopars. He hated anything having to do with Chrysler product, so he was dead set against it. But what happened was I had them over a barrel because they hired me as a technical editor. I quit the job and went back to my desk and said, I'm a freelancer now. Now you pay me for each story that I did, and I like quadrupled my pay in a day, right? So I had them by the balls. I was doing so much of the work for Pontiac Vet because it was Gromer, me, Jim Cosks, and occasionally Neil Van Opry would jump in. And I had them by the balls. It was like, okay, if I walk out that door, you have to fill all of these freaking pages. How are you going to do it? So that's the leverage that I used, and that's how I got High Performance Mopar out on the stand, the very first one, and it took off. It was the best-selling magazine in the lineup, and so it was go, 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 go.
And didn't Phil DePage's write sometimes? He wrote some of those stories with Phil DePage's.
That's another one of Cliff Gromer's names.
Yeah.
Kelly's Cars read High Performance Mopar as a kid in the 90s. That's where I remember Steve Magnante from before Motor Trend.
Well, yeah, I never wrote for High Performance Mopar. I wrote for Chrysler Power, but High Performance Mopar was our bogey. Chrysler Power was kind of like a glorified Club newsletter. I hate to say it, but High Performance Mopar was good. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Chrysler Power, and then Mopar Action. A little bit of that in like 93, 4 for Cliff.
Let's see. You want to grab one or two of them, Steve?
What's that?
You want to grab one or two of them?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Charles Manson writes. Shall I click on it? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. It doesn't work for me.
Oh.
It just says the infrastructure needed to adopt EVs won't be there for a long ass time. It's not a matter of enough charging stations. It's a matter of enough electricity to go around. I agree with all of that. Yeah, because I see this. I go out to, I go to the Mass Pike or the 405 freeway in California, wherever, and look at all those cars. What if at one point they all had to recharge? When that's possible, we're ready for the mass adoption of electric cars. But in the meantime, there's still a fringe thing, despite what the world seems to be saying. But when the infrastructure is there, but it is true that the word is that if everybody started to charge their cars, I mean, the millions and millions of cars on the road, the grid can't handle it. We're not there. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. What do you believe? Don't know. But I believe my eyes, and I would say that, there's no way in heck all those cars that I see on the Mass Pike could begin to charge at the same time. And when they can, we're there. Until then, it's a bogey on the distant horizon. I like electric. It's cool. I mean, you can lay some rubber with torque, But anyway, yeah. So, thank you, Charles Manson, for that. love your tattoo, bud. No, I'm kidding.
He was my favorite psycho, man. I used to look forward to his parole hearings. They would always broadcast his parole hearings. He was awesome. He was just so gone, I love that guy.
Now he's dead, right? Did he die?
Yeah, he died. Let's see. How do modern aluminum engines get past that problem? Well, the antifreeze is formulated differently.
Yeah, iron liners for the most part. That's one. Yeah, and flat decks. No more open decks. Open decks asking for trouble because you have an unsupported cylinder bore at the top. What do you do about that? I mean, some engines get by with it, but yeah, LS, they're all closed deck and iron liners. They're thin liners, but
Well, when General Motors started they started getting serious about putting aluminum heads on motors in the late '80s.
Yeah, V6 four bangers. Yeah,
they went to that brown antifreeze.
Yeah,
you remember the brown antifreeze? That was what. Now they also had a supplement that if you couldn't get the brown antifreeze that they had, it wasn't available in all of the parts stores, but they had a supplement that was there was a package of 5 pellets, and the pellets were made out of some root, it was a root from some plant, and you added that to the green antifreeze.
Okay.
And that helped to stop the electrolysis thing. But then once it became more common, they started to reformulate antifreeze so that it didn't break down and have those same acidic properties. So that's pretty much, it's just evolution. You know what I mean? It was
progress.
Progress.
Yeah.
Joe Brennan uses a nickel anode inside my aluminum. Okay. David Leonard says the power goes out here so often in California that I had to buy a generator. Now our governor has banned small gasoline powered equipment. Smart man. You guys in California are so screwed in so many ways. Get out of there. Just seriously, just get out of there.
I spent 17 years there. I liked it, but it was so crowded. I did my part to make it better. I left. That's what I say. I'm happy when I was there, but I will say that the traffic will induce mental illness. I mean, it's tough to drive, 2.5 hours to go 31 miles, man. I did that twice a day, 5 days a week for 7 years. But hey, anyway, burn it while you're done.
I've only been out there a couple of times, and my impressions of it, well, the one time I was out there was actually to interview for the editor of Superstock magazine. Wow. That was when Carlson and I were just like, we were like this, right? And then actually that's how we became friends afterwards, because he got the job, I didn't, and he was like, then he reached out the olive branch, and I took it, and that's where we became buddies. So yeah, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, he was the editor, but he lived in New Jersey, so
yeah.
So it was Bob Guccione. It was General Media, right? It wasn't Peterson. They bought it.
No, it wasn't Peterson, and it wasn't General Media. It was
Guccione, Bob Guccione's company.
I don't remember. It had been sold with what was the one in the
H2 or some weird thing. Yeah.
It was originally Reynolds, and then it went to General Media. You're right. It was Bob Guccione's company. You're right. They were publishing out of Canoga Park.
Yeah, right.
That's why I had to go. That's why I had to go for the interview.
Yes, yes. And Todd Westover was the art director then. And
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, man, they had taken all of the archives and moved them from Alexandria to Canoga Park. And Todd and I spent like literally an entire day, man. If you ever get a chance, I don't know where they are now. I have no idea where they are now.
I know where they are. There were vertical filing cabinets, steel, with super stock stickers on the drawers, right?
Yes.
That went to the Peterson archives, which used to be at 6420 Wilshire Boulevard with all the Peterson archives. There was like a little corner where the stuff from drag racing was, and there was actually proof sheets from some of the great issues way back when.
Did you ever go through those files?
Yes, I did. You remember Shemp Shumpert's wheelie pickup truck? The shots of that thing crashing into a crowd. Did you see that stuff?
I saw literally, man. I spent the entire day. In fact, I blew off part of the interview because it was like a 2-part thing, right? And I blew it off, and I stayed down there with the guy Todd. And man, we just went through box after file cameras and boxes of proof sheets. I mean, just everything. The history of drag racing that nobody's ever seen or nobody's ever heard of. And like you said, there were a couple of like ugly incidents there. I saw the aftermath. I saw all of the aftermath pictures from Houston.
Houston Platte, the Yellow River Dragway thing.
Oh yeah, bro, that was that was some seriously bad stuff.
Carnage, yeah.
Yeah,
and that stuff. It's that went to Peterson, and it was underappreciated. It was sort of shuffled up. I knew what that stuff was, and I used to put some of those pictures in Hot Rod from time to time. Trouble was, Freiberger said to me, "Hey, a lot of those pictures were taken by freelancers. We don't have releases." So he says we can't use these pictures unless we have a release or as a Peterson employee or a known, because most of the Superstock guys were freelancers, Alex Rowley or whoever got those pictures, And so those images, they weren't negatives, they were prints. And the trouble with those prints was that who knows whose they were. So if they put that in Hot Rod, you can get fined per issue that infraction happened in the right or wrong lawsuit. So it was weird. We couldn't really use that stuff, but it's there. So all that stuff, the Peterson stuff, that as far as I know, that went to the Peterson Museum. It's no longer at Source Interlink, what do they call it this week? WordFan, you know what I mean? That's now in El Segundo. But that stuff is not in El Segundo. It's at 64, the Peterson Museum. They now caretake that stuff. But when it was at 6420 on the ground floor, it was in a room. It was locked, but there were sprinklers overhead that if they ever went off, they would have just doused everything. I was blown away, but everyone was freaked out. I used to go down there. I'd bring people there, like David Hakeem, who's from Mopar Performance.
I know Dave, yeah.
We'd go, he'd say, "Can we go to the archives?" "Yeah, let's go to the archives." So we'd spend like an afternoon in the archives looking at pictures and stuff. And the Peterson stuff is astonishing. There's negatives. You open up the drawer. There was a handwritten notebook, kind of like this, that basically, it's the same idea. And it was just handwritten stuff with numbers on it. And it said, it would say Bob DeLevo, Africa trip, 1970 with Pete. And you'd open up and you go get the number, open up the thing and open up the slides. And there's Robert Peterson shooting tigers in Africa. And then
God.
Team Beat. And then beyond all that, Winter National 64 or whatever it might be. And there's all these rolls they're not rolls, they're developed negatives. And then you put them on a loop, you look at them, and then you can see the circles of the stuff they put in the magazine. But for everything that went into the magazine, there's like 50 images that didn't. And that's there. But so that's all now, as far as I know, it was willed or given to the Peterson Museum. So it's no longer the property of Motor Trend, which is kind of like how the hell they let that happen, but it did. But they digitized everything, supposedly. So they had for a little while a thing where you could find a picture, any picture, you name it, we'll print it, sell it to you. It was nobody really fell for it, but you can digital. It was, I don't know, $20. I don't know what it was. It wasn't free. But
so you're saying that the Superstock and Drag Illustrated archives. So
it mixed in. Yep.
Now, are the Drag Racing USA archives mixed in with that?
Mike Doherty stuff, yes and no. The Lopez era stuff, right?
The Lopez era, right.
It was blended in, but Todd Westover told me a lot of that stuff had been raided, and a lot of the photographers would come and just grab the shit out of there. So when I got there, it was mixed. I knew my Drag Racing monthly magazines from the 72 up era after Doherty, but when I went to Lopez. Anybody who's watching this, I hope you're a magazine guy, because this makes sense if you know this stuff. But those images, that stuff exists. It was all grouped in. It wasn't thrown away, but it wasn't seen. it was seen as outsider stuff. It wasn't junk though. I knew damn well what that stuff was, but it was a fragment of what had been. I know that much.
I was blown away. I was astonished, man. The stuff that was in, if I would love to get my hands back in there. Just, I'm a geek, I love that early drag racing shit. I love everything about it, man.
There were big color slides of the Hemi Honker, Bud Fauble's Hemi Honker. Do you remember those? There were color slides.
The turbocharged one.
In his garage. Do you remember those pictures? It had just been painted. Did you see those? They were in there.
I don't think so, no. I never saw those.
I have them now. I'll show you sometime. Because they were going to go in the drawing. Yeah, there's a few things that are here, put it like that, because they were going to be thrown away. They were not doing
Awesome. Mopar Den, thank you, Mopar Den. UTs, tell Steve spring Rhinebeck, New York show and swap meet will be back in 2022 at Dutchess County Fairgrounds.
Cool. Right on.
So you know that now.
Yeah, I went there years ago with Munchkin Motors, like in 1987. But it's a good show. Any outdoor show is a good show. Yeah.
Steve, do you remember working with Ehrenberg at Mopar Action? I'm friends with his son, who has some pretty neat fast cars too. He hates my guts.
Yeah, he doesn't like me either. Yeah.
Ehrenberg hates my guts.
Yeah. He gave me an FU. I kept the email. FU very much. I was like, wow, I kept it. I was honored that he told me that. He's a persnickety fella. I respect his art. I'll leave it at that. He's a great writer, and that's all I can say. I don't know. He's grumpy. I don't know. I hit him the wrong way. What happened was I had a 67 Dart that I turned into a project car at Mopar Action. Project Hemi Dart, right? It was a stage 5 car. And then when I went to Hot Rod magazine, I put it in Hot Rod. And, I thought, well, hey, a Mopar, let alone a Hemi Dart, in Hot Rod is a project car. We put fuel injection on it, put a Dana in it, stuff like that. When Ehrenberg said, you took a Mopar Action project car to Hot Rod. I'm like, yeah, it was mine. What are you talking about? Meanwhile, he's taken his stuff over to popular hot rodding. So where's the difference there, buddy? I don't know. It was weird. It was strange. Because remember, Ehrenberg was writing for popular hot rodding for a while. He did freelance stuff for them.
I paid very little attention for a long period of time.
I didn't get his point. But his son, I'm sure he's a good dude and stuff. And not busting on Richard, but, he doesn't like me very much. That's not my problem. But I respect him, though. He's a great writer. Put it like that. I'm sure his son's a good dude. I don't know.
So I left CSK in 1988, and I went across so I started High Performance Mobile, and then I was doing Cars Illustrated. Cars Illustrated was my pet magazine. So they decided they wanted to make Cars Illustrated Mustangs and Fast Fords, and I said, that's it, I'm out. So I left there and I went across the river to Harris, and I started Mopar Action magazine there. I did a magazine called Mustang Action to compete with Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords, and Street and Strip Supercar to compete with to take up the place where Cars Illustrated was.
It was similar, but not the same. Yes, from Harris, not CSK, but similar. They had the same buzz. I couldn't tell the difference initially. So, hang on, this is different. But
Well, it was the same crew. When I left CSK, I took Jim Koch and Neil Van Opry with me over to Harris. I guaranteed them that they would get paid, that there would be a deal, because I get paid as a packager. I wasn't on a payroll. I get paid to put out the magazine. So I told them, listen, whatever comes in, it's a 3-way split, right? So that's what we did. We got like $7,000 an issue. So it was a 3-way split. And back then in the 80s, late 80s, you could that was pretty decent money.
Yeah.
So I got them to come with me. So I gutted CSK at that point. I did 3 issues of Mopar Action. And then I said, screw this, I'm going nitro racing. So I quit the magazine business entirely, and I went into the fuel car thing. In the meantime, Gromer gets fired from CSK. He goes to Harris and takes on Mopar Action magazine. Becomes the editor of Mopar Action magazine. And Ehrenberg is with him, and Ehrenberg is his right-hand man. So around 1996 or so, I started working for Steve Collison over at Superstock and Drag Illustrated, only because I wanted to. It had nothing to do with I wanted to be back in the business or anything like that, but I wanted to work with Steve. We had become friends.
Yeah. And business too, a legend in a way. I used to be just up in Carcraft.
Oh yeah, absolutely a legend. I learned so much from him, and I'll get to that in a minute. But so what happened was, Ehrenberg became the right-hand man for Gromer and Mopar Action. And when I started to work for Collison, I said, well, hello, I'll just freelance a little bit all the way around the board. So I told Gromer, hey, I'm open to do some work now. So Gromer's like, great. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do the other thing? He's got like a list of stories for me to do. He tells Ehrenberg threatens to quit if he buys a single article from me. So Gromer calls me back and he says, no, can't do, bro. We can't work together. Ehrenberg is going to fucking walk out the door if I buy anything from
Because
you.
he saw you as a threat for tech. Because Ehrenberg wanted to own the tech thing, I guess. And I mean, he's good and stuff, but yeah, that was whatever, man. Yeah.
Well, then I went back to High Performance Mopar because they were still publishing that. And Jim Campizano was the editor over there. And I did a bunch of work for him. And a lot of the Hemi stuff that's out there now, not Hemi stuff that's out there now, a lot of the in-depth Hemi stuff all came from the work that I did. Because at that time, I was up to my ears in Hemis. I was surrounded by Hemis all the time, everywhere. I had a super stock car that ran out of my garage. I had my own fuel car. I was working on fuel cars and Hemis up the wazoo. So I was doing a lot of like really in-depth Hemi stuff, right? And a lot of the things that are quoted back to me about Hemis are things that I wrote about in 1997. But I worked for Collison up until he died. That was it. It was like I lost complete interest in the business. After I went to his funeral, and that was the last thing I had to do with the industry.
How are his kids doing? I know he had some sons, right, and stuff.
Yeah. I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I lost touch with everybody. So I would occasionally message or call his wife Kathy just to make sure everything was cool there, And then she was fine, obviously, But then I just lost. I drifted away. I lost touch, and I got away from the car thing entirely. Cold turkey for about 10 years.
Yeah, I've got a Collison story. I'll tell sometime, maybe on Halloween or something like that. It involved the general media drug test, and I passed it. I'll leave it at that. But anyway,
Steve could never pass a drug test.
Well, yeah,
it would never happen. In fact, if you hung out close to Steve for too long, you couldn't pass a drug test either. He was awesome, though, man.
Yeah.
I really learned to love him, and when he died, I was like, you know what? That's the last of the people I want to work with in this business. I am done, and that was it. I walked away cold turkey.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dollar Breton. Tony and Steve, we should do a drag racing gathering. We would rent the track one week, and friendly race till we see who's the winner or duel between Tony and Steve versus Aiden. Yeah, I mean, we could be. There's a lot of things we could do. But I want to race when Steve gets his next wedge together. I'm going to blow the cobwebs off my Roadrunner in the garage, and we're going to meet someplace in the middle, and we're going to race.
Yeah, if it doesn't go low 13, something's wrong with it. I don't want to build something crazy. Just a 513, 10-1. One lead rubber. Push 1-2 and drive. But not R for wreck. That's why you do the reverse pattern. On the push button cars.
Track rentals is something I'm definitely going to have to start looking into, because it's to work the schedule around test and tune nights and be able to do the things you're doing with a car. So when we did magazines, and Steve knows this drill like anybody, we would get the track for a day. We would occasionally hit a test and tune, but when we were working on articles, when we were working on stories, we had track rentals. We'd go to the track and we'd have the entire day to do whatever it is that we had to do. Get a tune up on the.
They make you pay extra to get an ambulance in there. We used to have to do that at Palmdale. There's like another $500 to get the ambulance if we're going to run 14 or something like that, whatever it was. But yeah, never needed it, but it was there, whatever. Yeah, right.
But now doing YouTube independently, we don't have that option to have a track rental. We don't have a publishing company. We don't have advertising. We can trade off and all these other things, all these deals that we made to get track rentals for us when we did magazines. So now for me to take a car to the track and actually try to do stuff with it and report on it, and it's a nightmare. It's a logistical nightmare. So I'm definitely, this coming year, I'm definitely going to look into some track rentals.
I guess that Cletus McFarland guy down, he owns a drag strip, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll go down there and have a party or something, you know. But
I wish he was closer.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
John Wilbert says we have something coming up at a racetrack about 8 months into 2022. Details coming very soon. So that'd be August 2022. We could all be dead by then, bro.
I know. Well, I got my booster last Monday or Tuesday, so far I'm still here. I don't know.
Oh, jeez. Let's see. He just bought Bradenton. Yeah, I believe he did. Well, he owns the Freedom Factory is attached.
Yeah, there's a round thing.
Yeah. So I guess he's got the drag strip now too. Any Al Kirschenbaum stories?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, nothing but good. I mean, the only thing when I was at Chrysler Power Magazine, you know, I used to, I don't know, the publisher Roland Osborne and I, we butted head here and there, whatever. But Kirschenbaum used to call me, he'd give me pep talks, just saying, well, you know, just ride it out. He said, always do what you say you're going to do. That's kind of what he said. And then Kirschenbaum's alive and well. I think he's in Palmdale, but a good guy. And his brother Steve is in New Jersey, I think, still. Yeah, Kirschenbaum, good guy. Yep.
I used to hang out with his brother Steve every once in a while. He had what a collection of shit that he had. It was amazing. So Al was in Palmdale. I was in New York. So we would talk back and forth on the phone probably once a week. We never met in person, but we talked often enough that I consider him a friend. So when I was up for the job as editor at Superstock magazine, I stayed at his place in Palmdale.
Wow.
I was there for a week.
Right, down to Canoga Park. My God. All right. Well, all right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had no place to stay, and I was like, you know what? Yeah. And the high desert, man, like I had never seen anything like that before. So I had fun. We had fun just bouncing around and checking out the
too.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, I considered him to be a good friend, and right after that, I'm going to say this was in 1992, 1993. Within months after that, I did a story for one of the magazines on who was the Mopar guy, who was running the B1 stuff.
At Koffel or
before Koffel.
B1 wedge stuff, right?
Red. The cars were red. I don't remember who this was.
Oh, yeah, Jeffrey on and those guys are the Wayne County. You know,
Wayne County. It was before
Scott Jeffrey. Yeah, Darrell Alderman.
Might have been Alderman involved. I don't remember, man. It's a blur. Okay, yeah. But I did a story on. See, what happened was they had just come out with the Pro Stock race package, the Pro Stock race model, right?
Yeah, right. It was a big deal.
So I did a story on how it was actually a big block Chevy.
Right.
Because it is. It's a big block Chevy. The Chrysler Pro Stock race motor was actually the Oldsmobile race motor, which was actually a big block Chevy.
An evolution of it. A pretty close evolution.
It was a big block Chevy. It takes big block Chevy main bearings. You take a big block Chevy crank and put it in the Pro Stock motor. Okay. So I did this story. I published it, and it was in Superstock.
Okay.
Was it in Superstock? It was in Superstock. It was one of the first stories I did. It was one of the first stories I did for Steve. Kirschenbaum calls me up. He's freaking out. He's like, "That was my story. You jumped on that. That was Al. You never told me you were going to do this. How could you not know? I had the connections with these guys. I was working on it. I got it halfway written. Blah 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 blah." I said, "You never told me. How am I supposed to know?" I got the pictures. I did the story, like literally, bro. I got the pictures of the motor. I determined what it was just by looking at it at a glance. I didn't need to interview anybody. I know what this is.
Right.
And I wrote the story within a day of actually seeing the pictures. Kirschenbaum was a much more detailed journalist type, and he would work on stories for weeks.
It would take him 2 years to do a story, I know, in some cases. But
yes, exactly. So we worked on different frequencies. We worked on a different timeline. And he got mad at me, and we never talked after that. And I felt so bad about that. And Al Kirschenbaum, if you're watching this, I miss you, my brother. I would love to hook back up with you anytime, like, how to, I hope you know how to find me, right? I never meant to steal your story. I swear to God. Hit me up for some time, but while we're both still alive, hit me up.
Right. I know years ago he was working on a story on it was a 305 cubic inch Indianapolis small block Mopar for 1970 or whatever. He was doing an in-depth thing on the Keith Black 305 program, that whole thing. I think he's still working on it, but good things to get. One thing Al did that's fantastic is a book on the 5-liter Mustang. Do you have that?
I don't.
Oh, give me 2 seconds. I don't want to stand up and show you my butt, but hang on a second. Let me just grab this thing. It's a timeless item. He's telling me that. Let's look at it. Oh, yeah. We pulled that out tonight. Huh. Ah. Right. But this thing here, this is something that Kirschenbaum wrote. Look how thick that is.
Yeah.
And this is classic Kirschenbaum. It's incredibly well written, and it talks about the aluminum brake drums on the '79 turbo cars only, the 4-bangers, and it's awesome. The only thing is, it's not totally obsolete, but it's about Fox Mustangs. You know what I mean? But
right.
he put like 7 years into this thing. He had access to Ford engineers, and this is the kind of guy. It's a great book. If you're into 5-liter Mustangs, this is where it's at.
Kirschenbaum was one of the most thorough journalists. I mean, he really a gifted guy. Gifted patience, man. And like you said, he would just work on a story forever. And you get quality like that. Me, I used to bang shit out because I needed to check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like just to hear. I typed as fast as I could hear. Pay me. I mean, that was it. That was my extent of automotive journalism.
Kirschenbaum has when he was at Carcraft magazine. Remember the Plymouth Fire Arrow?
Sure.
It was a Mitsubishi Galant, whatever. He has it's not a pilot car, but he bought it from Plymouth.
And I remember seeing it in his garage.
Yeah, it's a really low VIN. It's kind of a neat car, He loaded up with Mopar performance stuff and whatnot. But I think he also has a CUDA or something in his garage that, it's still there, But yeah, that's cool. But Kirschenbaum is a pilot Plymouth Fire Arrow. It's an early VIN anyway. I always wanted to make a T-shirt. There's actually a guy, Philip Boris. He does the pilot car registry, mostly GM stuff. It's all good. But I want to do a T-shirt that says, I'm low VIN it. You know what I mean? Like a low VIN, people who collect cars with the 002s and stuff. But anyway, I don't know.
And Uncle Tony, you're the best. You and my husband have convinced me to be a gearhead, and I am loving it. Welcome to our world, Emma.
Right
on. Let's see. That's a pretty fair question. Fox platform versus a GM F body.
They both have their place. I love them both.
Fox all the way.
Okay, yeah.
Fox all the way.
You own some, yeah. I mean, I remember you said if you could get it with a rubber floor mat, you would have, back in and it's the 383 Roadrunner of the 80s. It's the car that kept America power shifting.
That's right. I had something to do with that, yeah.
But I don't know, a red IROC 5.7 IROC, nice looking car. I don't know, I like them all. Yeah.
Colleen said, Steve, send you a picture. I think you'll enjoy deciphering.
Yeah, all right.
Why don't you send you something mysterious?
Yeah, I don't want to disturb the feed here, but I have to look at my AOL inbox. But anyway, I'll look at it later. Yeah.
4-link versus ladder bars.
Yeah.
For a street car, ladder bar. But for a car that you just want to set up and go, ladder bar. 4 links are way too finicky.
Yeah.
And most people don't have the power to work a 4-link. That's the thing. You gotta put a lot of power to the ground to actually work a 4-link. Where a ladder bar is convenient. A ladder bar is much more flexible.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know about tuning a 4-link. That's all I can say about that. There's books about that stuff. So I don't know. I like leaf springs and a pinions number, but then again, I'm happy going 10s. I put super leaf springs in my Nova. Actually, it's funny because I wanted to put as much Chrysler content into the Wilshire Shaker Nova as I could because I wanted to do a nod to the fact that back in the day, when I built this thing, it's a Chrysler Torque Flight, has Chrysler Superstock springs, has a Chrysler A990 seat, brackets, all that, and a Chrysler battery in the trunk. That was standard fare on a lot of Brand X funny cars back in the day. So I actually had an ARC car push button torque flight with a wheel cap adapter behind a 502 rat motor. And I remember approaching Mopar Performance saying, hey, would you guys supply a set of super stock leaf springs? I said, well, we're not going to put Mopar springs in a Chevy. I said, you don't get the joke, guys. It's not a joke. It's the point. Because, people used to run, because as you know, Mopar leaf springs, they put the axle 1/3 of the way back, whereas Ford and GM half of the way. That's why a Mopar leaf spring works like a traction bar. And I was trying to tell those guys. So I put those in my Nova because the Chevy, the monoleafs in that thing were junk. I knew that, so I put Chrysler springs, 0302s, the Hemi Dart stuff, and worked great. Then we yanked the tires.
I did a few videos on the benefits of the Chrysler leaf springs and the variations of the Chrysler leaf springs.
They have their place, I mean, if you want to try go to 6s or 7s, no, but if you, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could run seriously fast.
Yeah.
You look at the early funny cars, right? Look at the perfect example is Gary Dyer with the Mr. Norm's car, right? 860s, 865, right? On stock leaf springs and a stock 8 3/4 with welded spider gears.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was lighter than a sure grip.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
sure grip is an extra 4 pounds of reciprocating weight. So instead of using a sure grip, they welded up the spider gears.
Wow, that's brave. Well, and stock axle shafts too. None of this summer stuff either.
Completely stock. The car was 2,900 and something pounds on the starting line, which is really not a flyweight. You know what I mean? With a blown nitro motor in it, 7-inch wide tire, right? And they were running 860s with stock leaf springs and welded spider gears.
Right.
So I mean, that was 1965.
A100 front axle.
Yeah. So Steve, I think we need to start wrapping this up, man. We've been on for 2 hours and 40 minutes. We're moving up onto the 3-hour mark.
I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, so I will sleep tonight. That's for sure.
Oh, jeez. So what do you need to plug, Steve? What do you need to get out here?
Just the Steve Maggs YouTube channel. I'll have a lot of fresh stuff very shortly, and not going away. That's for damn sure. So and Barrett Jackson in January. Check it out. 50th anniversary will be this an 8-day program. Holy smokes! A lot of blue chip stuff, certainly. So tune in, History Channel, blah blah blah. And the Steve Maggs Muscle Car Show podcast, currently in hiatus, but soon enough it'll be back. But if in the meantime, I've got like 200 videos. If you haven't seen them yet, check them out on the Steve Mignani YouTube channel, and also the Steve Maggs Muscle Car Show podcast. There are, I think, 50 episodes of that. And if you don't know what that is, it's me reading from my book. And each show's a half hour, and they're fun. Everything from Ford, Chevy, Plymouth. We're in the middle of Plymouth right now. It'll go Chrysler and then AMC and Studebaker, and then finally we'll get to that 1001st, and then maybe go into my 1001 Corvette or Mustang facts book. Not sure, but anyway.
Are you still selling those books?
No. I still have a few of them, but the Barrett Jackson, these things here.
You done with that?
I had a campaign where I was selling these things. These are little notepads from this is blank, but I sold like 3,000, 4,000 bucks worth of those things. It was cool, but I had hundreds of them, and for $25 a whack, I sold a bunch. I might do more of those on my Instagram, but when the time comes, I might do it. So.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's it. Steve, when are we going to get together again? People love it. You got more fans on my channel than I do.
I don't know about maybe on New Year's Eve or something like that. I want to do a New Year's Eve show.
Well, we're having a party at the shop, but there's no reason that we can't actually get together on New Year's Eve as well.
Yeah, it's fine anytime. Yeah.
Unless you want to come down. You want to come down? I'll split the airfare with you.
I got some stuff nailed down, but in the near future, I'm heading out. I'll head down. We'll hang out for sure. Yep, that'd be cool.
All right, let's plan to get together New Year's Eve. If not New Year's Eve, the day before, maybe New Year's Day. What days does that fall on?
I don't know. Christmas. Well, I won't. Yeah. What's that?
What day does that fall on? Any idea?
I don't know. I can't see it from here, but I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out one way or the other. So our mods, right? are fantastic, awesome mods. Steve, once we get your live going, you're gonna have to cultivate mods. They're the ones that keep the trolls out and keep everything smooth. And they post promotions, like Fubar is always putting up links to your channel or my merch or anything like that all through the time that we're talking. Mods are crucial to having a good tight live thing and keeping the community tight and clean and keeping the riffraff out. So we have the best. John, Ari, Zero, Fubar, thank you as always. You guys, we were talking about, Kathy and I want to send each of you and your families to dinner for the holidays. So we're going to have to get together. We don't know how we're going to do this. We don't know how we're going to do this yet. So Kathy's going to get a hold of you guys, and we'll figure out how this can be done. I don't know, but we want to send you guys and your families out for dinner. So everybody who contributed with Super Chat, thank you so much. This pays the bills. This keeps everything going. We appreciate it. And everybody who contributed just with good conversation and your presence and everything else, greatly appreciated. You have no idea. So, Steve, we'll talk over the next couple of days. We'll figure out what the next date we're going to get together is. And thank you, man. Thank you for these our get-togethers here are my favorite thing right now on this channel. I look forward to this. You have no idea.
All right. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
We're out, guys. Good night.